Recording. There we go. So, welcome to Titan Talk 8. This is Marcus Harrison. Marcus, for the viewers, tell us a bit about yourself. Introduce
Uh,
yourself. Tell us all about
I,
your business.
I'm Marcus, 27 years old, personal trainer from Preston. Been personal training, full-time self-employed for about 7 years in April. So it'll be 7 years in April. Love working with the general public. That's probably where I get most of my inspiration from. Yeah, love my job.
Nice. How did I always? It's funny because whenever I met you, actually, I'll just tell the story of how I met you because that was a pretty funny story. As you can see, Marcus is huge, and the first time that I met you was Jimmy Winter, I think, brought you into the CrossFit gym
Yeah, that's right.
on North Road, and we were doing. I think I was trying to help Jimmy with his overhead squats or something like that. There it was. Like we were all training together at the time, and the first time I seen you do an overhead squat, it was with 40 kilos, so like 2 10s on the bar. I remember thinking, how the fuck's he just done that? Like, it took
I
me
think
fucking about a year to do an overhead squat properly, never mind with 40 kilos.
I only wish like I had the same amount of confidence I had then. Like now, do you know what I mean? Like going into the gym, like nothing phased me. Like I was like overhead squat, yeah, no problem. I'd never even heard of an overhead squat back then. I think it was like that was like 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I think it was 7. I'm not sure. I think I've been
No,
in it 7 years, and it's probably about as long as that.
It was about 2013, I think. I remember. A few
Yeah,
things went on. Yeah. So yeah, 8 years ago.
it's crazy. And I remember you, as I say, you were doing an overhead squat with 40 kilos, and I remember looking at Jimmy to say, "Who the fuck's this guy? Like, how did he just manage this? Like his first ever time." It was. I remember like telling you what to do. You were saying, "Oh, what to do with this?" I said, "Oh, just put it over your head and then squat down." And I normally do that, and I'm always like waiting for them to make a fuck up and then say, you know. And I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why I actually allowed you to do it with 40 kilos. To be honest with you, I just looked at you and I thought he could probably lift that. To be honest, like, you were fucking yoked as well at the time. So I thought I'll try that and see. And I couldn't believe it. I was waiting for you to kind of move and then go, nah, it's not
Yeah,
gonna
it
work.
goes forward.
But nah, that
Yeah, it
wasn't
was
the
a fair
case.
bit bigger than I was now, to be fair.
What weight are you around now? What were you around then? You were like you were
I
like
was, I would have been about 22 stone, I think. I'm now 18 and a half. And so
it's a good
it
weight
drops
though.
a little bit. Still,
Yeah,
I'm 6'6", so I wouldn't really
alright.
like to have 14 stone and 6'6" frame. I wouldn't really want to do that, but
Nah, it's a good. That's a good. The last time I seen you, when we were doing a bit of MMA training in Titan, like that
oh, yeah,
was.
I was about 17 stone. And I was quite light. That was just before my fight, I think,
Yeah, you
or
were in good
just
shape then.
yeah, fairly. Yeah, I've put a tiny little bit on now,
Yeah, must be pretty easy though. Like putting on weight at your size, you must not even see it. Like you wouldn't even see a stone and a half with your frame. Like it would
oh, I
disappear.
don't
You
know.
would.
I can probably tell you where I put it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it just goes to my legs. I think it just goes to my legs.
But your legs are massive. I don't know how the fuck you got them so damn big. Was it? Am I right in saying that you squatted like? Was it 320 for 8 or something stupid like that?
Now, like a video came up on Facebook actually from a 320, and this was in the bodybuilding days.
Oh yeah.
And when I was training with Jamie, we religiously trained legs twice a week. And how I didn't give myself some form of injury to my lower body, I never know. It was 320 for 6 reps. Let's call it 6 reps, but parallel questionable. I I squat 240 today, and that's for 3 reps, and that is
That's
full
fucking
full.
that's colossal, mate. That's still a huge squat though.
But I would have only liked to have worked with, especially that strength I had then, and the knowledge I have now. I would have loved to have kind of
I
met in the middle
combined them.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, But you live
Uh,
and learn, don't you?
I think it's the curse of a man, isn't it? Especially athletes. As your knowledge grows, your physical ability drains. It's starting to
Yeah.
disappear as your knowledge is growing.
As like I wish I had, like I say, the confidence of when you first qualify as a personal trainer. You think, I know everything. I am going to cure the world. I am going to just do this, that, and the other. It's like when you get your level 4 in obesity and diabetes. Like I was like, you've got all this knowledge on how to cure diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And then you forget that the adherence of the clientele has a massive factor to play
Yeah,
in that. Like anyone can adhere to struggle for a certain amount of time, whether it's 6, 8 weeks.
yeah,
Yeah, but I wish I had that confidence now because it just diminishes. You just go, you realize how little you know.
that's right. I think that's the worst it gets. Like, I mean, I think the remember, you know Chris Edmondson, don't you?
Yeah.
Chris was actually my the first guy I brought on the podcast for many reasons.
Fountain of knowledge. Fountain of
And
knowledge.
yeah, but he turned around. He was teaching our masters, and he turned around to all of us and says, "Guys, there's people who have forgotten more than I'll ever know." And I was thinking to myself, how the fuck is that even possible? How is that actually possible? Uh, because I mean, the guy, as you said, he's a complete fountain of knowledge. Like, there's so that he knows more than anybody else I know personally.
Oh, yeah.
So if somebody else, like, he's talking about people out there who have forgotten more than he knows, which is it's just it is it's
You
insane
can't
levels to it.
comprehend it. Can you? You can't comprehend
No,
it.
there's no getting your head around it. And like the
No.
worst thing is, it'd be fine if if it was just like a bit of talk and it was kind of a bit of humility, but he's legit. Like um he's not humble for no reason. If that makes sense. But
Yeah.
if he says something, he really means it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
He's no
It's
way
insane.
to stand with him, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. No, the more you learn, the more you realize that there's so much more to learn. I remember starting to, I don't know if you probably did it yourself, as you talked about adherence to a program. Like whenever I was younger and, I guess more naive, yeah, I had this idea that you could program humans, it's just not possible. You can't give
Yeah.
somebody a program and expect it to be done the way you want it to be done, you know, and
And
definitely.
I almost think that's the beauty, and especially that's the part of my job that I actually love. Like it's finding what people respond to and like what they actually like, what creates a spark in them.
Yeah.
And like, not 9 times, like it doesn't have to be the gym. Like people will come in and like you'll speak to them and you'll have a consultation with them. And they don't necessarily really want to be there. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
if you don't like this, what you're doing, if you don't like what you've just come into, why would you put yourself through it? Go and find a sport if you like a sport. I mean, if it's really what you want to do, come and see me for 5 minutes a day.
Mm,
Like, no charges. Come and talk to me for 5 minutes. Say that this is what you want to do, and then you can stick to that,
mm,
and then maybe think about bringing something in. But I, I, I do believe a lot of people though they relate the gym as it's the only way of getting fit or keeping
yeah.
healthy. And there's so many other ways. So many other
Oh,
ways.
yeah. I mean, to be honest, if anything, I actually believe sport's a better way. The only
100%.
thing that I would say about sport is that you're going to get injured. Like,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about it. You're also going to get muscle imbalances from sport because the nature of any sport is that there's repetitive motions and repetitive muscle contractions for specific muscle groups, depending on the nature of the sport. So, no matter what you do, whatever sport you decide to do, you're going to have overuse injuries and you're going to have muscle imbalance. So, that needs to be rectified in the gym. But I think when you find a sport, something that you can be passionate about, you have motivation then, or I hate the word motivation to be honest, but you've got a reason to be in the gym.
An
So
external factor come into the gym, don't you? You've got a purpose.
exactly, there's a purpose when you go to the gym. Like for boxing, for example, you everything's forward, everything's like this here. So your shoulders are fried, and you don't do anything
Yeah.
overhead. You don't do anything behind your head, or not even a lot
Or
of rolling.
experimentation.
Yeah, so you go into the gym and you go do
Like if
rows
you
and
see,
overheads
yeah,
and stuff. You know,
yeah. Like if you see some of the lads at like the MMA gym, like their external rotation is like
No, it's
non-existent.
non-existent.
Like
Yeah,
there's nothing.
I was
Yeah,
I was that I was that person.
the anterior rotation we've got my shoulders. It's completely insane. Like,
Uh,
and
I guess.
it's crazy how the body adapts to it, isn't it? Like it's crazy how the body goes like that because of the repetitiveness of
Mhm.
the sport, shall we say?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that's what I mean. That's what fascinated me, if I'm honest, at the start. As we actually mentioned before we jumped on this podcast, is I mentioned that injury that I had, and I started getting physiotherapy myself, and it took like 2 years, a proper 2 year block of recovery, and I had a fantastic physiotherapist who was also an SSC coach. So he actually gave me a program, a basic program, and he basically said, like, just do this. And it was just like your regular bodybuilding programs, 3 by 10, you know,
Yeah,
3 days a week, nothing overly exciting, dead basic movement patterns. But even just doing those basics, because I'd not really I mean, at 17, or what was it, 19, 20 actually, I had nobody had given me a program and said, this is what you do at the gym.
yeah.
I'd been doing at the time. I'd done some professional MMA, and nobody had turned around to me and said, "Oh, it's here, here's a program to make sure you don't get injured." I'd
Yeah,
never had. Nobody had that understanding. The sport was so new at the time. But even boxing to this day, like amateur boxing, even high level amateur boxing, the S&C is non-existent.
it's more the case of like their kind of striking or their jiu-jitsu coaches
Yeah,
will recommend them to do something. So there's no substance behind it. But then some of the thought processes are like, well, oh, I've got a bit of a niggle on my knee. Oh, well, just carry on doing it. You'll outwork that injury. And it's like, no, you really
yeah,
won't.
yeah. I learned that the hard way. You don't outwork an injury. You go to hospital and then they fix you. Yeah, it's madness when you think about it. But it's
It's
true though.
crazy,
Like
mate.
there's the whole generation, that whole early generation of combat sports. Like especially, I mean, it was a long time ago when I was doing it. It's like nearly, well, geez, it'll be 10 years, over 10 years ago now, which is scary to think that I'm not old, but that is what it is. But like when I was doing it competitively, that was, it was over a decade ago,
Yeah.
in them days, it was just your MMA was, a whole bunch of lads from the street got together in a big hall and beat the shit out of one another. Black
Yeah.
eyes and busted noses left, right, and centre.
The
There was no
record
real rhyme or reason to it.
included the street fight score as well. The record
Yeah,
included the street fights.
yeah, exactly. I mean, most of the guys that were there, they were there to learn how to fight so they could beat somebody up on a Saturday night. That was their whole mission in life. How hard can it be in the street?
Yeah, and what I still find crazy is that long distance running will still be programmed into like
Oh,
a boxers or a mixed martial arts program. I'm like, they aren't doing an hour and a half of continuous work, and especially like if you're going to run an hour and a half, you're not going to be running fast. You're not going to be explosive. You're not
you're
going to
gonna be
be
doing 60% maximum, like
exactly. And then
65.
you're going to work at 60% surely if you're going in the ring or the cage. But yeah,
I
it's
mean,
still
yeah. Have you ever been in a fight situation where you're sitting at 60%? If for any length of time, of course not.
yeah, no,
You
no,
might get a few 10 seconds breath between intense
exactly,
efforts, but that's it.
exactly. And yeah, it's mad. I mean, I think the one thing you can admire is definitely the mentality of the fighters for adhering to
Oh,
such brutal um, techniques.
yeah. Yeah, I remember doing some really cool training. In all fairness, that some of the trainers we had, they hadn't a clue about S&C, but they ended up doing some really fun. I guess it was for them; they were just thinking of really sick stuff that we could do to make the fighters, hate life and want to quit.
Yeah,
And it's important that, as you said, that psychological element's a really important part. We used to do like we'd pull a beach buggy, where we'd have like a bungee cord around our waist. We'd run across the beach with this beach buggy. And you like run up a sand dune, and like
yeah,
I remember we were getting pretty good at getting up to the top of the sand dune, pulling this beach buggy the whole way up. And the trainers then thought actually everybody's finding this a bit too easy. Like only 2 guys have puked, like so. They're like, oh, it's a bit too easy. We're gonna ramp it up. So you had to stop halfway and like do ground and pound for 30 seconds. So like stopping, was it I can't remember, right? We had to do ground and pound in 30 seconds, intense effort, like smashing wet sand. And
yeah.
and then that was fine until you had to start again. So you're halfway up this fucking sand dune, right? And it's massive, big ass sand dune in Donegal. And you've just been ground and pound in wet sand. Then you've got to start moving again. It's getting moving again with a bloody buggy attached to your back. Oh man, it was like a slow hog. You just burnt out. By the time you got to the top end, there was nowhere 30-second ground and pound. It was insane.
Oh, that
Remember,
sounds absolutely horrific, mate. Rather you than me.
do you know what though? It's one of them, like, it's stuck in my memory so well because it was such a fucking fun. As hard as it was,
Yeah,
like there's something primal in getting yourself to that state where
absolutely.
you're
Yeah, absolutely.
you're fucked. You're beyond. I mean, my hands were bleeding from the wet sand. Like, and you were like gloves on.
Yeah,
It was just
I remember.
fucking blow. I didn't even realize. I thought my hands were just wet. I looked down and fucking red running up my arms. It was insane.
I remember back in the bodybuilding days, and the old gym I used to go to, the coach who kind of coached you through what was like your terrible like nutrition program and stuff, and he would once a week he would put me through a leg session, and I like to this day I still kind of I am proud to the fact of how well I kind of kept to that program, or kind of how well he pushed me, because he literally it was, and there was nothing behind it other than we're gonna kill him. Like we are going to just like there's and every rep he said like there would be drop sets, and on I remember on the bar one week there was a challenge where he'd put like 6 plates on the bar, squatting 5 plates, 4 plates down to 3 with I couldn't tell you the numbers now, but unimaginable numbers. And I knew fine well he was lying about these numbers that he'd done.
Yeah,
I was like, I am just going to do them because that you said you've done them.
yeah,
This was coming to the end of our kind of friendship, should we say?
yeah.
But yeah, he's you realise now it's like I was a naive young man, but I kind of miss those simple times as well because training just used to be simple,
Yeah,
and now it's
you
all
just go to the gym. That's right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was horrific and nothing behind it whatsoever.
I think I don't know about you, but when you've become a coach and you've been coaching for so long, sometimes you really, really miss just being the athlete,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
it's really difficult to turn your coaching brain off. So
Yeah, it's almost it can put you off training somewhat, can't it? Especially in
yeah, it
your own
can
gym.
big time. Like
Um,
rather than following something, like I remember following a program. I actually got a Sean Brown. I'm hoping to try and get him on this podcast as well. I think he's Sean Brown, the Olympic weightlifter.
I think I met him once on a night out because he's one of Jamie's friends, isn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah, Sean. Yeah, he probably was. Yeah, Sean's a good lad. Like
Yeah. Is he in
he can
Dubai
be
now?
taken. Hey,
Is he in Dubai now?
no, he's back in Ireland living.
Back in Ireland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he wasn't. I think he competed in Dubai and he was back and forth a bit. Um, but yeah, I remember he done me up this program for Olympic weightlifting because I mean I was relatively new to that, so I wanted something that I could follow that would make me better because I've done CrossFit for a while and my numbers were going nowhere. So I spoke to him and the numbers went up. Really, good coach for the Olympic lifting for definite. But he, I remember like I would look at his program and I'd be trying to take it apart rather than just following the fucking program. I'd be second guessing stuff and like it kept having to just tell me like stop fucking coaching, just be an athlete. Just whenever you're
Yeah.
training, don't fucking look at the program. Just go in. Here's what you do it, and come report back. It's really hard. It was really hard to do because I'm dissecting it, thinking, are we overworking that muscle group? And
Yeah.
more later on, like this is a good while ago, but as I've come on, I realized that I kind of went too safe in my programming. I was too
Yeah.
safe with my clients and too safe with myself. And you get to a point where you have to kind of flip that in his head and do some insane stuff as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fully agree with that. Yeah, you've always got that in the back of your head as like, am I pushing this person too far? Or in the
Yeah.
same sense, am I being too safe with them? Like more towards like the when you were saying you was getting programmed, uh, it's quite hard to to kind of pick apart, like apart from like, where you find um, inspiration from, to the point of where you find you like what exercises you like rather than the how efficient the exercises are.
Hmm.
Um, what I mean by that is I've lost my train of thought now.
I get what you mean. So like you can
Like
you have your
what?
favorites, don't you? You have your favorite
Yeah. So
exercises, and you can kind of just get into the pattern of using them all the time, rather than maybe putting in something else might be more effective.
yeah. So like it goes like this one thing that always sticks with me with I think who said it was. I think it was Ben Pakulski, a bodybuilder, and like he said, like you could have this 200-pound program, like let's say that someone's like personalized directly for you. It's personalized for you for your goals, and you could hate every part of that program, or you could have this one that you've literally just found on the internet, and you love it so much, and you give 110%. And the exercises might not be great. They might not get you to your destinations quick. But if you go into that gym and love every part about the session, it might take a little bit longer. But if you love every session, then it's the
More
that's the way.
beneficial. Isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's like I think that's what after after I got into Olympic weightlifting then for a little while, kind of properly myself. I wasn't really competitive ever. Not on a national level or anything. I think my max clean and jerk was like 115. Um, max snatch was like 90. So well, it was never that big in numbers or anything. It wasn't, you know. But
They're big enough on your chest, though, aren't they?
yeah, it was heavy enough. Yeah, 115 did feel heavy. So I actually think I double cleaned that and then jerked it. It was a complex and I managed to max it. I don't know.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was stupid though. I mean, my problem is I never had the patience to fix my flexibility in my shoulders. All the damage from the boxing and MMA and grappling. I never was patient enough to. I was always just too hungry. I wanted the heavier numbers. Um,
Yeah.
and I just kept. I got that shoulder. I got injured 3 times in like 1 year, and then I realized like, okay, I need to fucking stop and fix this shoulder.
It bites you in the bum, doesn't it? It bites you in the bum.
So yeah, I guess you do need that level of competitiveness. I guess that competitive mentality, it does help in a lot of circumstances, but that's
Yeah,
where you need a coach going. What the fuck are you doing?
absolutely.
You're gonna fuck yourself up.
Mm.
Um, and at that time, I was probably struggling to get out of the athlete mindset into the coaching mindset. Now I'm the opposite way around. Probably getting older, possibly wiser. We'll see. But I never really asked you. I never. And all the time I've known you, never asked you how did you get into personal training? What made you want to do it?
Well, it was after my. So I got the qualification while I was doing. I was in the building trade, just a bit of. I was a joiner, and there was uncertainty in the building
Mm-hmm.
trade, and I was bodybuilding at the time. I absolutely loved training, and I just had the qualification just to sit on, just in case, kind of the construction industry went on its arse, and it
Yeah,
did.
which it did.
But so then, yeah. So this was in 2011, and that's when I got the qualification. And then I still worked in the construction industry as a joiner, but then a couple of days a week, I would Justin, who owns Ultraflex, he would just let me. He said I was good friends with him at the time. He said, "Yeah, do a couple of day, and we'll talk prices." So I did. I did about 6 a week uh, for about a year, and then I kind of knocked it on its head. I lost a bit of passion for it in about 2014, and then I got back to it in when I completely lost the job because I got made redundant, and then I fully went into it with everything. I fully invested in it and fully invested myself into it because if you go half-assed with something, you're only going to get a half-assed result. So
That's right.
if I was going to go back into the construction industry and then try and do part-time personal training, I would only stay a part-time personal trainer. And then it was only towards the back end of 2016 or 2014, sorry, when I stopped bodybuilding, and I realized I put myself into quite a lot of health problems. Not a lot, but I wasn't naive anymore, and
Mm.
I sorted some health problems out that from the bodybuilding,
Yeah,
and made me fascinated at that. I must get my body healthy. Like this is like it made me want to better my own education.
yeah,
So I went to university, and yeah, it's just gone from there really.
nice.
But it's it was quite a scary time to be fair. So, and I don't mind saying this, as a 21-year-old, um, I was my resting heart rate was about 120, and
Jesus.
yeah, and this was through getting coached off a person who had no qualifications in nutrition or training, and my blood pressure was 160 over 100, and in
Oh,
stage one hypertension, and I was just embarrassed. I was really embarrassed. I was like, I'm a 21-year-old. My doctor said, look, if you're going to carry on like this, you're not going to see your 30th birthday. And it really scared me. And I feel like somewhat like I don't really talk about that too much.
you should, man.
Um,
Really,
yeah, I know.
I never knew
Uh,
any of that at all.
because I would say I'm not quite ashamed of it because I don't think I would be in a position where I am now if it didn't happen to me. I've got really good blood pressure now. My resting heart rate's 50 for a 6'6" and 18 stone. I
Okay,
think
that's
that's quite good.
impressive. I guess lower than mine.
Yeah.
That's fucking hell. Not
Um,
way we fart.
but, but yeah, I think I don't really talk about it too much because of the nature of what actually it was. But yeah, it was that's what kind of give me the motivation to
Mm.
actually pursue. And it gave me, not that it gave me the passion, but it actually instilled that passion that was already there and just like, yeah, let's do this.
Mhm. It kind of stoked the fire, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
And more like getting myself better and realizing how I could with my body really made me fascinated about actually the human body itself.
it's weird hearing you say that 'cause I never knew that. As I say, I never asked you.
Not many people know that, to be fair.
I'm glad that you mentioned it on this because I mean that's similar to how I got into it with injuring my back and realizing that all the training that I've been doing 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, wasn't doing. Yeah, I got good at what I was doing, which was MMA at the time, but it was fucking my health up beyond all
Yeah.
recognition. I had tons of tension in my back, and I mean, as I said, it came to a head whenever I called an ambulance for my back. I thought I was fucking
Yeah.
paralyzed. So
And it's, especially with this job, like you go through so many emotions. It's crazy. Like you go, I went through a stage of, especially I think towards the end of the first year, I was so concerned with what people thought of like my my knowledge and what people thought of my styles of coaching
mhm,
that you would almost take your eye off your own off the prize, and
mhm,
I almost got consumed with the fact of, oh, I hope this person accepts me, I hope this person accepts me, and I hope this person accepts me. And I don't know if you've gone through it, but like almost like well, we've talked about it actually, but a stage of like depression and severe anxiety. Like I'd get to like some days of like I would be in a stage of where I was like I wasn't actually focusing on the job in hand. I was too worried about what that person thought, and like I'd be like,
yeah,
"You got to stop. What's going on in my head?"
yeah. It definitely happens. I think personal training's rife with people judging, and like because I think it's actually the more you get to know, the more knowledge you pick up, and the more
Yeah,
experience you gain, the worse it gets as well.
yeah.
Because like you'll get to a point, and the more you're teaching people that and I mean, I've kind of come to a point now where I don't give a fuck pretty much.
I'm
Um,
there. I'm there now, and it's such a euphoric feeling. Like
is
you can't you can't describe it. Like it's if you find if you find clarity in what you're doing, and your client finds clarity in what you're doing, then That is absolutely fine.
Exactly. That's it. That's it exactly. That's the thing. Like, I think for years, I was concerned what this. I was more worried about what other coaches were thinking rather than what my fucking clients were thinking. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, no, 100%, 100%.
You're concerned with. I remember getting. I remember putting up posts on nutrition, and talking about how people crash diets and how damaging that can be long term for people, and how it fucking ruins any chance of decent muscle mass and a decent metabolism. And takes a long time to build that back up. Um, I was talking. I remember talking about that on a thing, and like a high level nutritionist. I don't mind mentioning them actually. What the fuck is his name again? Mac something, Mac Nutrition or something.
Oh, Martin McDonald.
Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. So he come on. He's like, "No, this is wrong." So I was like, "Well, what part of that's wrong?" Because you've just come on and said, "Yeah, it's wrong," but it's a blanket statement. What part of what I've said exactly is wrong? And he never answered me.
But I think that's, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, T. I adore the industry we're in and I adore my job. But I think that part of our industry needs to change because it's almost like people want to put you down. They want to be at the top. They want to be at the
Well,
top of the list, and they want
yeah,
to almost think they want to make out like you are stupid. And this is
the
why it
guy
should
never
be.
even watched my video. He never watched it. He never listened to a word I said. That I've realized since that his whole marketing campaign. I don't know if you know much about the guy, but I did some
I did
research.
his course, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I found a lot of
I've no doubt
good,
that it's good. He's a qualified nutritionist.
but what really put me off, and do you know Matt Beanham?
Matt, yeah, I know Matt.
Do you know Matt Beanham?
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No,
So
no.
we have this talk quite a lot. It's how like stuck up all his followers are.
Yeah,
Not so that's like almost like a call out, but it's like
yeah. It's
you can
it's
just tense it in the air. It's like an uncomfortable environment to be in because you're almost like you feel like you're being judged on everything you say, like and
well. The thing was like I'd done at the time. I thought I was kind of on that precipice of you know I still cared what people were thinking and still was concerned. I mean, yeah, this was like I don't know 3 years ago. Before I think Thora was just my daughter. She was about 6 months, maybe a year old, something like that. So about 3 years ago, she's four now. I remember thinking like, fucking hell, this this guy's a renowned coach and renowned whatever. And why has he said that? Like, because I knew myself. I'd had the same discussion with other S&C coaches and other
you
nutritionists.
start to pick it apart, don't you? You start to pick
And,
it apart and you start to think, well, this guy
exactly.
must be yeah.
So I started thinking, well, if he's right, then how am I wrong? And I wanted to know how I was wrong, or I wanted, and I messaged him direct. He didn't answer me directly. I went on his live feed, and somebody else, one of my followers, asked him on his live feed what I had said that was wrong because this guy had been following me for a while. I didn't even know him. He'd been following. I never trained him, and he'd been apparently been following all my videos or whatever.
That
So,
speaks volumes for you, mate. To be fair,
well, yeah, it was nice. That was a bit of that was a really nice thing to experience, really, to be honest. Um, but he asked him, and he never answered him either. So I thought, well, this guy's he's probably just not watched my video, and he's probably this is his like his form of marketing. And I don't know if you've read. I mean, one of the books that I've read is called 48 Laws of Power, and one of them's kind of all about one of the laws of power is about kind of fucking up your opponents, basically. Anybody who comes into your sphere of influence is putting them down. I never really liked that one personally. It's not my style at all. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing fucking interviews with other PTs. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Um, never really. It's not my groove. But I realized that this guy had pretty much been spending the last year just tearing shreds out of every other coach that even mentioned nutrition. And he had a big gripe with PTs who did nutrition. His
But I
biggest
think
gripe was that.
when you say about like this point of power where you've got to pull apart someone else, if you're fully confident with your own service, should you really need to pull apart someone else's service?
No, of course not.
It's yeah, that's the one thing I don't like about our industry. There's a lot more going on, I think, and I there's
I
nothing
mean,
more than
I forget. I mean, sorry, Paul Pout Martin. I mean, if he ever wants to talk to me and tell me why I was wrong, fucking super. I'm still up for the conversation. It's not to pull him down or anything. It sounds like I'm
no,
trying to do that now. It sounds contradictory, but I genuinely, it was more so to reflect on how that was a bit of a turning point for me when that happened. Because two things I realized, hold on, somebody like that who is supposed to be, industry leading, has just fucking commented on my thing. So I must be getting big enough for him to notice that. And then the fact, as I say, I had people asking him about what I was saying. That was nice to know that people were actually following along. I had people come on, like lots of bodybuilders come on. That post particularly because it was about bulking and cutting, and it
yeah,
was understanding that mechanism, understanding that when you put on muscle, you're going to put on a bit of fat, and whenever you lose weight, and whenever you lose fat, you're going to lose a little bit of muscle along with that as well. And it's about trying to balance that and periodize that throughout a year. And that was all the post was about, right? So
yeah,
nothing fucking special, like just
no,
basic stuff. But not a lot of people, as you say, general public didn't know that. No, they weren't aware that. I mean, the first thing they want to do, they come into the gym is I want to lose weight. You're like, well, where do you want to be in a year's time? Because that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at 6 months to a year.
yeah.
We're not looking in the next 4 weeks or 8 weeks. Where do you want to be in a year's time? Right. Here's the long term strategy. So that's what I had kind of gotten into a better groove of that kind of thing. With the personal training at the time.
And you'll attract the clientele you want to work with as well at the same time, because like if you're going to do 8, 12, whatever week transformations, you're gonna attract people that are not very uh, committed is the word
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for. Not committed, that's the wrong word, but um, if what I'm trying to say is when you're te- when you're telling the general public on your beliefs, you're going to attract the people you want to work with. Sorry, that was a long drawn out
Yeah, yeah.
answer.
No, I get what you're saying though, because it's not necessarily the people that are doing 8 weeks, because we did them. I've done them
Yeah,
all the time. I've done 12
yeah, yeah.
weeks. I mean, I'm currently working through a 12-week program myself.
Yeah,
I
I
started.
didn't really mean to say it like that. To be fair, I don't
No,
know where I was going with
it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that I think people tend to want to commit for a certain length of time because they
yeah,
realize that they don't want to commit, after that or whatever. But what I've realized is you kind of have to play both sides of it. So what I tend to do, and I'm probably going to get the cat out of the bag here now altogether, but I tend to rope them in on a lower end package, like a 12-week or 8 week or whatever the fuck it is, and then explain, look, this is not going to fix it. What you're looking to do long term is not going to sort it out. So
yeah.
it's like a hook basically. So that we all market, right? I mean, you got to use marketing hooks. If people aren't gonna want to try and commit to something that's going to be difficult. It's going to take a year, for example.
Yeah.
You know,
But
uh,
then they then get to know the T, they get to know the
well,
person behind Titan, and then it becomes so much easier to sell.
well, exactly, exactly. You try to build that trust, so you show them, look, here's 8 weeks, here's 12 weeks, here's the results that we've done there. Now, if you want to maintain these results or improve upon them, here's what we're going to need to do. You know, and so you kind of, I try to educate. I'm sure you're the same. Like when you're coaching people, I think you change tactics big time as you come along. I think as a coach, because you go from wanting people to be reliant upon you. I remember when I first started in the personal training, like I wanted people to keep coming back, just keep paying me for sessions, right? Because you're that's what you want. You want money. That's what the goal is. You don't want to have to
And then
teach them everything. You just want them to come to you, put them through the sessions, get the results, and they keep doing that forever and ever. Amen. Then
yeah,
you realize that nobody wants to do that. Like some people do. I've had some clients for like 5 years. Like honestly, it's insane. My retention was one of my best things about the business. But
yeah.
but a lot of people, they just want to come in and they want to get that result and then they want to go again. They don't want to hang around forever.
And then
So
that shows your ability as a coach as well. If you can leave someone in a position in 12, let's say 8 to 12 weeks, where they're comfortable in the gym, their form on their exercises is great. They're not gonna injure themselves in the gym, and they feel fully self sustainable in the gym. Then you've done your job, and that's amazing.
Exactly.
That's unreal.
That's what I realized is in the coaching process is it's all about trying to get people to become kind of autonomous so that they can work all on their own. They don't really, you're trying to train people, you're training yourself out of a job essentially.
Yeah,
But
but I think, but then you're almost they then become an advertisement for you, because it's like you'll still see some people are doing like a squat or let's say an RDL, so someone might go up to you and say, "Oh, that's amazing form." Oh yeah, I trained with T, and it's like, "Oh right, can I have his number?" And it just spirals then, doesn't it?
yeah, well, that's actually what you find. And because people have left on a good basis where they've realized that was, your intention wasn't to get them to pay for sessions, it was to teach them how to lift and how to do things correctly. And when they go away from that, I mean, I don't even care if they tell somebody else what they've learned. It's no problem. It's a good thing. Whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because that's at the end of the day, that's what they're after. If they want to know more, then sure they can come and see you. And if they don't, great. You still help two people now?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And I think that's a point of being content, isn't it? Like that's like I was like you in my first years, and I think you attract more of the people you don't vibe with as well. Like if you're trying to, like, because especially for me, like I was trying to make it my full time job, and I got like super busy super quick, but in the process, you was getting people who take all your positive energy but never give anything back, and you realize super quick about, oh, I feel class after this person. When I love training this person, I feel class after them, and then I've got that person. I might need an hour before then because I need to get myself mentally prepared for them. And I realized maybe 2 or 3 years into the job, I was like, well, maybe just like push those people aside. Like you don't really want to work with those people. The people that you actually vibe with and they vibe with you, they're the people you want to work with. And
Definitely.
ever since legit, I have never worked a day in my life. Like it's it's getting people to give you positive energy when you're giving your positive energy out. And I think that is so important.
Big time. I've learned that the hard way too. But there was one particular client who just kind of just flipped everything. It was actually at the CrossFit gym. That was a while ago, and it was a guy who'd been training with me. He was paying me like £400 a month. He was training 4 days a week. Yeah, this. I mean, to be honest, at the time, I only had like I only had a few, maybe had about 12 clients, and they were all paying me big chunks of money.
Yeah.
So it was don't get me wrong, it was good, it was nice. Sometimes unpredictable because if they fucked off on holiday for a month, which they tended to do,
Yeah.
there's 500 quid gone. So it was good and it was bad, but um, this guy anyway, I've been working with him for about 3 months. Got great results physically, brilliant. But he wanted to buy into my business. He liked what I was doing, and he basically he wanted to he says he wanted to buy into it, which I thought was fine. I thought it was quite, it was what's the word?
It's an achievement, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was a compliment in a way.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah.
but then very quickly I realized he wasn't interested in buying in. He was looking at buying. He wanted to have it. He wanted to control the business end of things. He was saying I was doing everything wrong, and we needed to get out of that gym and do a different gym. And he wasn't wrong in that sense, but just his whole attitude was just. I thought, fucking hell, I can't even. And then the weeks,
Then did that ruin your relationship as
it,
a
it definitely did.
client?
The whole thing turned sour. I says, look, man, I'm really sorry, but I'm not going to take you up on that offer because, I just want to do my own thing. And then actually, we um, found out Thor was coming along with my first child, like, first daughter, and everything was up in the air. Like, I don't know, I put a post up about it this week, actually, or last week. Everything was fucking up in the air big time. And I remember taking him aside one night and saying to him, "Look, we're going to go anymore. This is," and he could not believe it. So he was just shocked.
And
So
then the first thing you do is when you're cornered, you put your defensive on, don't you? Like when you corner someone.
Yeah, so he didn't take it well. Stormed out of the gym and tried to badmouth me and run the business down and everything.
That's a
But
shame.
he was, yeah, it was a bit. I mean, it didn't actually affect me at all. In fact, if anything, it helped boost me up a little bit because
Oh
people
yeah,
talked about
absolutely.
me. Even bad press is press. So, as it turns out, but yeah, but it was he couldn't fathom that I was willing to give up the 400 a month. I mean, I
Yeah,
was just a student at the time. I wasn't making make it dash or anything like that. But you know, he
but I think with
couldn't get his head around it that I wouldn't put up with him for that. He thought he could just buy anything.
yeah, with what especially with what was going on externally from the gym as well.
Hmm.
I bet I had a lot of thinking going on. I think you get to the point, don't you? Especially with clients that you're not on the same kind of like wavelength with.
Yeah,
If you because I love to see it as a fact of I take just as much from a client as they take away from me. Like if I like I was saying before, if I take so much positive energy from a client and I've given them that, then you're on a high for a day. But then if you have the opposite of where like you have literally just exerted all your positivity to this person and it can set your mood for the day, can't it?
uh, the
And
problem
then
is it starts affecting other clients as well.
absolutely, yeah,
And
100%.
that's not right. That you realize that you've got a moral obligation really to be at your best.
Absolutely, 100%.
So when you're jeopardizing that for everyone else, you kind of realize that there's a massive loss happening for this one person or
Yeah.
two people, whatever it might be. I mean, I've been lucky. I've been probably like yourself. I've been fairly lucky in my clients. I've not really had that many.
Well,
Um,
you get to the point, don't you, where you can choose. I mean, we're in a lucky position where we
yeah,
can choose to work with. Not like it's not we're not chosen to work with now. Where we choose who we work with if they come to us. And I love to work on the fact that we're a team. It's not a dictatorship. Like if you're coming to bring something to the table as well as me bringing to the table. It's not
yeah,
like you just dump your your goal on me. It's solely my issue. It's we
yeah.
work together with it. I'm not a dictator.
Yeah, it's funny. I think. I mean, whenever I was really young and I started, kind of like that. I was like a drill sergeant type effort, and then
We all are, aren't we, at first?
yeah. I mean, as time goes on, most of them, especially my long term ones, I wouldn't have to say anything.
Yeah,
Actually, it wasn't work at all. It was, people were coming in and they knew what to do, and I'd already sent them the program, and they were coming in basically, they were, and you obviously you coached and you improved in their technique, and that's what you're
yeah,
there to do. But even that's not work. Like when you've coached like for so long, it doesn't feel like work because it's like, oh, everything's second nature. It's just, you know,
yeah,
it's on repeat. You don't actually really have to put too much effort into it. You can get
yeah.
complacent. I mean, I've done that too. I've been complacent many times, but that's life as well.
I think. Do you know what? Do you not think that's when kind of, especially if you become complacent? Do you not think when that's like when the end of your client relationship should kind of part ways? Because
Yeah,
and like you said before, like sometimes the money has been good, but it's like, well, what we're doing now, you could do on you could absolutely you are potentially doing it on your own. You're essentially doing it on your own, and you know exactly what to do. And I think that is the best time to before that, but yeah, it's part ways.
definitely. If you can preempt that as well, I think that's best. I think it's best for the coach to make that move rather than the person.
Yeah,
I have done it on a number of occasions, but yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention is once the big change for me that happened from opening up Titan was that I kind of moved off coaching as such, and you kind of move into like a management role where you're managing other coaches and you're managing the whole gym, and you're basically then it's not necessarily about individuals or anything anymore. It is about individuals, but it's about creating an atmosphere. It's about when people walk into the gym, what's their experience? What are they getting? Are they getting like a kind of standoffish vibe? Are they getting feeling
yeah,
welcome? People have to leave with a smile on their face, and that's if they do that, they're going to keep coming back. And then the other thing is always trying to deliver more. Well, what I was thinking was always trying to deliver more than you promise. So people coming in for their training, I started realizing. I mean, I don't know. Actually, this is a topic I want to get onto with you because I've not seen too many of your posts about about the psychology of it. So I did want to quiz you on it and see what your take on it is. I think it'd be interesting. But I kind of, after so long training coaching, you start to realize that it's not a program that fails people. It's not their it's not the nutrition plan or the training strategy or anything like that. It's always up here. It's they miss too many days or they fall off the wagon or they it's a mental game, and that's where they lose track. And that's where
100%.
with it. For some people, it's down to self-image. So people could have, you know, some of my clients lost 4 or 5 stone, and they're like, they still can't get their head around this new person that they are, and so they start to put it back on again, and you're having to like cut in and say, look what you're doing. You're self-sabotaging because you can't get your head right. So I mean, has that happened? Have you started realizing that there's a whole bunch of psychology behind everything as well?
Yeah, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago. I realised that the mental aspect is just as if not a bit more important than the physical aspect tenfold. Like what's a bit sad to see is that like a lot of clients they really don't back themselves, like they don't believe in themselves, and like when you see it, they're almost coming in expecting to fail, and then it's like trying to instill that positivity and actually when they realize you could because you can definitely tell with their whole presence when they actually start to believe, oh yeah, this is happening and I am that person that can make it happen. But yeah, I see it a lot where you actually ask people like, do you believe that you can get to this goal? And it's like, I don't know. It's like, well, you should really be in a position mentally to be ready to change yourself, essentially. And I have people saying now, is like, be your first pick in your mental football team. Like you want to be the first person you pick. You want to be, oh yeah, I want to choose that guy because he knows what he wants and he's going to get there. And it's not it's a bit of a weird analogy, but
I like that analogy. Actually, I've never heard that before. It's a good one. It's be your first pick. I like that now. But that's the thing that I started to realize. We started to read. I mean, I've been reading for years, but there's so many answers to the coaching business. Let's say that you don't get taught in your degree, you don't get taught in your courses, and none of that. You don't get taught all that stuff. And really, that's the stuff that makes a great coach. And you kind of just learn it by you learn it by doing.
Experience. Yeah.
Experience. I mean, I remember sometimes. I mean, even way back in CrossFit, I started to kind of do it then. Started to realize that potential then. I remember like one of my clients coming in to do Olympic weightlifting session. He was just lifting like dog shit. I was like, well, what's going on here? I just tell you what, let's go to breakfast instead. And I just took him out, we had a breakfast and a coffee, and we had a chat. It's much better, And he came back to me, and he was just stressed. It's just his business. He was running the business. He was stressed out. He felt pulled on every direction because he had business, he had his personal life, and he had the lifting, which he's like an ultra competitive guy. So the lifting, he wanted to be the best at it. And I was like, well, look, you can't be the best at fucking everything. You should pick one. Pick one that you want to be the best at, and pick somewhere where you can get some release.
Yeah.
Make the gym your chill time.
I always try and live by, like, even though it's our job, our time isn't always worth money, and I think it's so refreshing just to look like to give your clientele time and say, look, I actually care for you, and come on, we'll go for a walk instead of using this session. Like, don't worry about the session. We'll go for that coffee. If you need to talk, and like some clients are like, well, this is actually what I needed today, like, and then they'll go and make these big decisions, and then just making them answer their own questions, like what they're asking you is like, well,
yeah.
If you were asking me the same thing, what advice would you give me? And at first it's a little bit daunting because like this person is trusting me with this information. I really don't want to get this question wrong. I don't want to answer this wrong. I think when it comes down, if you're a caring person and you've got compassion, if it just comes naturally, but
Yeah,
um, people skills is a massive thing that you don't learn
yeah,
in your in college or in your degree
true.
because like I could act like how I act with someone, they might absolutely buzz off that fact, but then that person who I have next could be slightly intimidated by that. So it's acting to your audience. Like
True.
a lot of, some of my clients, when they first start, like I always tell people, the hardest part about any session is going from the outside of the door into the door. Like there's
Mhm.
so much anxiety and so much expectation of what is actually going to happen on the inside of that door that it doesn't actually live up to what's going to happen. And we're almost sometimes seen as like an invisibility blanket. We're kind of hid behind sometimes. And
Mhm.
a massive, a massive kind of benefit is just seeing people kind of coming to their own in the gym and realizing like they love doing something in the gym and they, oh yeah, I'm going to do that today. And oh yeah, Marcus, I'll train with you once this week, but I want to come in and do it on my own. And like, that means so much to me. Like, it
Mhm.
really does.
Have you been working? You've worked in Ultraflex pretty much the whole time then, since your entire PT
Yeah,
career. That's uh,
pretty much.
that's nice, man. You must have a really good relationship with Justin. I mean,
Oh
I've been all over the show, as you know. I started off in lifestyle, fucking CrossFit, ended up in dropping Red Scar for a while. That was good. Actually, Red Scar was quite good. Um,
yeah. Was that with the lads from who used to work up in at
Up in
PNE?
lifestyle, yeah,
Yeah,
that's where I started at PNE, so I knew them from there.
yeah.
Uh,
Johnny, was it Johnny and
Johnny
I
and
can't remember the other
Dan
lad's name, but
and
they're
Barry,
good lads. They're nice lads.
they are good lads, yeah, really good
Yeah,
lads.
yeah.
So and then it was,
But
you know,
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I've been there 7 years, um, and I love it as much as I did the first day. Um, Justin always wants to improve the gym, and he always what's really good. He really values my opinion on like equipment and times we can open. It had a bit of a stigma, especially when I started. It had a bit of a stigma for being a bodybuilder's gym.
Hmm.
Um, it was just full of meatheads, apparently. Uh, Out of the 1,200 members we have, I would probably have to go out through it, but I would say half are females now, and you have even amounts of females to males, and we've kind of lost that stigma. I mean, there's plenty of lads that still bodybuilding there, but
Yeah.
it's just a lot more of a friendlier environment. And I think just having that friendlier environment has allowed more people to come in because I think if you're seen as that bodybuilding gym, you're always just going to you're going to be restricted to members. Like, oh, I'm not going to go there because that's just for bodybuilders, or I'm not in a good shape to go into that gym.
Hmm.
We've just had a really good relationship ever since day one, and I trust him with everything. He trusts me with everything. Um, I did go for a stage at I'd say 3 years in where I took on someone for my own, like just for because I couldn't just keep up with
The
the
demand.
demand, and I thought I'll try it, and it went completely pear shaped because I thought I can only work to the hours that I can commit to in this day and this week, so I'm very much limited in what not limited, but I'm very much can only earn a certain amount of money.
Hmm.
So I thought if I take on this person, then we can kind of branch out and stuff. But you then soon realise that MH Training Systems isn't their name. It's not their baby. It's not what they've grown from day one. Then it's your name, and they're not quite bothered. So when you go on holiday for 2 weeks, and you're answering text saying, "Oh, this person hasn't turned up. This person he's not turned up, or he came late," or and then you realise that they try and steal clients. Then you realise I kind of soon I'm more open to the fact now, but for a long time I was like, no one wants it but you, and no one's going to deliver the service that I deliver because it's my name. And I
Mhm.
mean, I don't have that way of thinking now, but I was very much that way of thinking just because of that negative
Negative experience.
feeling.
It,
Yeah,
you know, I was really, really lucky, in the sense that the people who I've eventually brought on, like I said, Dan, even back in CrossFit, actually, I had Bobby Butters and Ryan Hayes take I
yeah,
don't know, you know those guys.
yeah.
Um,
They're coming to watch, yeah,
so I had them take like a strength camp and stuff at the time they were coaching, and it was a pleasure to have those on. I mean, honestly, as I said, I'm very, very lucky, and their character I knew was solid. So they had no interest. I mean, to be honest, they were so driven they could barely fit the time to do what I was asking them to do because they were so
yeah.
focused on getting their master's degrees and doing all the stuff that they were doing on their own. They were on their own path really, uh, and it was yeah, it was lovely. Like and Dan as well. Um, he started with me up in Red Scar, and he was the same. He was still finishing his third year at uni, and I think it's
Yeah.
getting people. I was probably lucky because I was getting people kind of at the right time. So it was where they couldn't go full throttle, but they wanted to get some experience coaching in. Um, the money was great, but that wasn't their motivating factor. It was only like a few extra pounds in a week or whatever. It was more so to get the coaching experience and to get, um, just to they love coaching and they wanted to do it. And so when you're getting people like that, I struck real real lucky, and I was lucky to have that nice positive experience. Um, and Dan is probably the most reliable person that fucking I've ever known. I mean, the guy's just solid. He never missed. He was always early.
Do
He's
you
just better
do
than
you
me,
almost
really.
take that, do you almost take that for granted? Because I mean, like, because you've had it from day one.
Yeah, you
Uh,
do.
like,
Well, there was a few
you
mistakes
really
once in some did
appreciate
open.
it so much, wouldn't you? Like, if you
Yeah,
kind of like, thought on it, you're like, I'm so lucky I have these guys. Or, but like, it'd be hard almost to appreciate them 100% of the time, wouldn't it? Like as
definitely,
much as you want to.
definitely. Well, it was hard because whenever I first opened Titan, I realized that be it running a PT business and running a studio were two different things. There was two different games altogether. And I didn't see that at the time. When I opened it, I thought it was just the same thing. I just run the business as I did, um, and it didn't work like that at all. There's so much more that has to go into like what I wanted to do was work on the coaches who then worked on the clients. Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah,
was that was my kind of idea behind it all. But then you've also got clients who've been with you for years and they want you there.
yeah.
So you've got to
That's all.
balance that out.
Yeah,
And then at the time, I probably mistakenly taken on too much training myself. So I started getting back into competitive jiu-jitsu again. So well, not competitive, but I started getting back training jiu-jitsu and I started doing the odd comp and stuff. So it was, I probably, yeah, you end up just pulling yourself in all fucking angles. And the other thing was, I hadn't a clue what the strategy was. I mean, marketing a studio is very different. It's not just your personality. This selling a type of thing. It's what what systems have you got in place? Have you got? I had no fucking system at the start. I had literally no business system. Do you have memberships? How's it run? What do you pay for
yeah,
this? How do you book in? Who do you see? Who do you talk to? And you just all this shit. What happens when somebody walks in off the street? Which it happens sometimes, and if nobody was in or the gym was closed, or so you had all this shit going on. And then I was thinking, well, if I've got staff on all the time, like say 6 hour shifts or whatever, how the fuck do you work that? How do you pay for that? Right, we've got to have this much money coming in. Okay, well we don't have that. What do we do now? So it's just like, I mean, for the first fucking, I think it was almost a year actually, we were running at a loss, and it was just all coming out of my pocket. So it's just throwing money at Titan for the first year, hoping it would work. And it pulled, it did work then. Like I got help. I realized after a while that I needed help on how to structure it properly. So paid some business coaches. Fucking best thing ever done really, because he not only did it kind of um, change the structure of the gym, change the price point, change the clientele who we were trying to hit, change, basically I got fucking clear on what I wanted to do with it, what I wanted it to be. And before that, I had so many ideas of what I wanted it to be that it was just doing nothing. It's just like pulling in all different directions. I was training combat athletes, but it was also for the normal person. We had box classes, we had fucking weight classes, we had kettlebells, we had fucking everything. So we were just like a really small commercial gym trying to charge commercial prices.
Yeah.
Which was never going to happen because we could never have the capacity to make it affordable to pay the coaches. You know what I mean? It was never going to work. So yeah, it was a bit of a fucking steep learning curve in that first year, but grateful for it, and and the fact that we managed to make a decent success of it after that was great.
I'm so fascinated with the idea of, like us as human beings, we're almost drawn to uncomfortable situations to make them comfortable. Like that was an uncomfortable situation for you there, T. And if you would have been in the same situation now, like I know you've had the coach and stuff, but like you starting a business now, you would definitely handle it so much more like controlled and like in other aspects. Like I think one of the main reasons why I got into combat sports because like fighting scared the shit out of me. Like I wanted, and at the time I didn't know, but like I was drawn to it because I wanted to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. And little do you know that you never get comfortable in that situation. But
what's funny though? What's ironic is this: you're 6'6" and like weigh 18 stone. Like realistically, the majority of guys that are gonna ever confront you in a real life situation are not gonna be, even if you couldn't punch, if you hit them a big awkward hard punch, they're still fucked.
The more you go into combat sports, you realize like the last thing I want to do is get into a fight. That's the last thing I want to do.
And there's so many things can go wrong. Like I remember,
especially a street fight. Like if you like, even if you hear people talk about street fights, it makes me cringe. Like it's like it's actually a miracle people don't get life sustaining injuries more often from a street fight. Like
I know it's insane how robust we really are. Like the human body is robust as fuck when you think about it.
Yeah. The human body is insane. Absolutely insane.
It does. Like I always thought that too. The more you know about fighting, it's one of them things, isn't it? The more you know about fighting, the more you realize how fucking dangerous it really is.
Yeah.
How silly it is. Like I remember when I was younger, it was a bit of a fucking idiot to be honest. I grew up in a place where I guess back home, fighting was, you had no how to fight. That was just it. From as early as I can remember, it was just one of them things. You were going to get into a fight, throughout the week, and so if you couldn't fight, then you had a problem.
Yeah.
And like I remember, trying to avoid them as best I could because as much as I might have portrayed at the time, I was confident, whatever. Because that's what you do. You put on a front, don't you, when you're young? It's like, you're fucking macho, but you put on these fronts. But realistically, I didn't want to be in a fight, when I was younger. And then something kind of happened. I don't know if it was testosterone really fucked me up or not, but I don't know. I got like 13, man. I had puberty really fucking young for a start. So I was like 9 with spots and shit. And then I was like 13. I looked like a grown man, so that didn't help matters. But I was like 13. I was like fucking got there's so much anger and aggression. What the fuck did I do all this? So you actually end up, I end up in a position where they stopped scaring me, and I started to, look for them as excitement, that buzz. It was, it's embarrassing to say it now, like, because it's not right, it's not good, but that's what it was like at the time. But then it's funny because you get into combat sports, and I got into jiu-jitsu first, and then MMA, and then you get your ass whooped. I remember first night getting my ass whooped. And I was thinking, fucking, this is horrible. This is fucking horrible. Just got my ass kicked. And
the only way I can describe it is, especially with jiu-jitsu, especially the first night of jiu-jitsu, You're
Clean ups.
drowning. You're drowning without any water. That's what you're doing. Like you're just drowning.
That's it.
It's like, you're on the bottom all the time. It's like I can't breathe whatsoever. Like
You realize that you've just burnt up all your energy within a minute and a half, and there's like 5 minute rounds, and you just fucking
because you don't know you don't know what to do. You're literally doing gable grip, and you are just burning your biceps out. So it's more of an unconfident because you're that scared that you're going to let go that you're just going to be twisted up. I
yeah.
remember, I think it was like the second session I did. There's a guy with a pretty a chip on his shoulder, let's say, and we were drilling Peruvian neckties.
Oh God. I love
And
Peruvian neckties.
they are so good.
They're so
Apart
good.
from when the guy yanks the hell out of your
Oh,
neck the second time. And I think as I was going upside down in the Peruvian necktie, I blacked out, like because he just yanked it that much, and I
yeah,
was going
it's
up.
switched. Had to switch to it.
I just have this kind of mental blank towards a Peruvian necktie now, where I just start like twitching a little towards a Peruvian necktie.
It's one of them sneaky moves, isn't it? You never really expect. You're sitting in like a turtle,
just
sitting in a turtle position, and then next thing you know, you're fucking choked out. You know, shit.
What's your favorite? What's your
my favorite choke? Do you know what? It sounds really like fucking straightforward, but it has to be rear naked choke.
There's so much satisfying about it, isn't there?
Yeah.
I love a DOS.
It's my favorite choke, I think. The old Darce is nice, yeah. Darce is nice. It's just,
especially
I think,
if it's nice and smooth.
I think when you get like I get the back a lot. It's like I pretty much when it comes to me being trying to be competitive, when I'm rolling in the gym and stuff, or when I did roll in the gym before all this nonsense, it was like I would play my back a lot. I'd try and play guard because that's my weak game. My best games go straight top position, try and just fucking crush them. Because MMA, that's all you did. Like my MMA game was brawling. It was pretty much boxer facing. If they get you down, get back to your feet, boxer facing. If they're better than you on their feet, get on top of them, boxer facing. That was my strategy.
Nothing going on here, too.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. Punch them in the face. Hey. But that's pretty much.
I think that's what's so. I think that's what's so beautiful about jiu-jitsu, because in MMA, if you're uncomfortable in the stand-up position, if you're like, well, this guy's nails, I'll just take him down. Like, this guy's not going to get off me. Like, I know for a fact. But in jiu-jitsu, it's like, well, yeah, on the back. I've never been great off the back. But like you say before, you're always kind of drawn to where you're uncomfortable. Like, I always want to start on my back because I'm not really good on
it. Yeah, see. I started to try and play guards and stuff, and I started, just before lockdown, I actually got my blue belt before Christmas.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, I was buzzing. I was, really wanting to get good at it then.
I've only ever done no gi, but like it seems like belting systems in like proper like Brazilian jiu-jitsu is like the holy grail. Like you see the significance of like the belt, even from from one stripe on the blue, two stripe, and then the purple. Like I see, like there's a lot of people like I know Craig. Is it Craig Hartley?
Craig Hartley. Oh yeah, Craig. Yeah, Craig Hartley.
Yeah, so,
he's good.
And Matt. I think is Matt a black belt now, or is he still a brown?
Which Matt? There's a couple.
I'll have to quickly look. I'm not quite sure his second name. He's a lovely guy though.
Yeah, to be honest, it's a real nice gym. That it's it was Gracie Barra and Preston. It's Louis Mourinho now.
It's changed now, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yes, Louis Mourinho. I don't really know the guy. I mean, to be honest, there's a brown belt coach there, Arthur, and he's kind of the main reason. The reason I went there first was because Ryan was going there.
Yeah.
And then it happened to me.
It was Matt Besant.
I might know him. I'm terrible with names, so apologies, Matt.
I think he rolls at 6 o'clock in the morning, but yeah.
Actually, I do know. Fucking Beard.
Yeah.
Like Beard, like
Beard.
Yeah. Yes, I know Matt. Actually, yeah, he's good. Real solid guy.
Yeah. Is he black belt? Is he brown belt still?
Yeah, I don't know. He's fucking good anyway. I don't know how
Yeah.
much.
And he's such a nice guy as well, which makes it worse.
Yeah, no. It's just like the like smiling assassins, I call them. And smiling at you, choking you out as well.
You'd rather roll with a higher belt than like a white belt freshie, wouldn't you? Like this is coming from like I've never had a belt, but like
Yeah, no. When you're rolling
worse,
with people who are like just coming to the gym, they've got a point to prove, and
it's scary, mate. Yeah,
it's just so frantic that anything can happen. So you're not learning a whole lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good to do because realistically, when you're in an MMA fight or in a real life situation, they are that frantic. So it's good to do
yeah,
it now and again. But for your longevity and training, not a good idea because if somebody's fucking spazzing out, then they're going you know you're going to get injured. Somebody's going to get injured.
and you're gonna make mistakes. You're just not rational thinking, are you?
Exactly. Well, you're going to
And
hurt them. They're
it's
going
a
to
long game, isn't it? It's a long game. It's like
fucking
chess.
tell me about it. You know what? My biggest regret in life so far. This is funny. Biggest regret in life so far was stopping the training. Was like, don't get me wrong. I took a lot from going on to like doing Olympic weightlifting and focusing on S&C and weight training and stuff. But I
Yeah.
really, really regret not keeping up my jiu-jitsu and not keeping up my striking because it was.
Hindsight is a beautiful thing, though, isn't
Yeah, it's one of them. I mean, in another note, maybe I wouldn't be as passionate about it again if I hadn't been doing it the whole time. So I've kind of refound my passion
it?
for it. I'm an old man now, so I don't, probably not
I
go
think the
anywhere
love
with it.
you've got from it, you can just tell you cannot wait to get back to it,
Oh,
which is
fucking. Oh,
real. And how old are you now, too, if you don't mind me asking?
I'll be 30 now in April.
So there you go, and you've still got that much
Scary.
passion for sport. That is insane.
Yeah.
I don't think that passion will never. I don't think it'll ever leave you either. It might change to you might change to golf when you're like 60 years old, but I think you always have that passion.
Yeah. I think this. You're probably right. Like, I think people, maybe Chris. I'm always like thinking nature nurture when it comes to psychological, and I'm really when it comes to it, I'm 50-50. There is some nature, there's some nurture. Um,
Yeah,
but I think ultimately for anybody, so it's very easy for someone to say, "Oh, well, that's just not me," you know. Um, people like I've had people clients because I've started, as I said, kind of touched on it earlier, and you might know anyway, but kind of moved away from personal training more into, I guess, performance coaching or personal coaching or whatever the fuck you want to call it. So it's more about their lives in general and everything that's going on. More about psychology, more about their habits, just ways in which I can improve, even like intergender psychology and stuff like that. There's a lot of, I'm not even a psychologist, but fucking hell, I end up doing that much on it that I realized, I'm actually considering going back and getting my psychology just to fucking have it.
every credit, mate. That
Yeah,
is
just because, like, fuck it, you know. Um, but what was I saying anyway? I lost my train of thought now. What was that? Yeah, so I think the nature nurture thing. That's what it was. So like a lot of people come in and say, "Oh, I can't do that," or "It's just not me." But I mean, if you know me when I was what, I don't know, 15, I wouldn't have done this. I mean, this
Yeah,
is not me. The fact is, as much as we have nature involved in things, and I was born. I mean, I can't tell if I was born into sports or if it happened because of my childhood. Or I mean, actually, it wasn't. I never played for a sports team up until I was like, I think it was 9 or 10. So that was actually late in.
what
Uh,
did you play?
I played Gaelic football first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hurling and Gaelic football.
Amazing.
So
Oh,
it's good,
amazing.
such a good sport.
Did you have a team? Did you have a team in your town that you was from?
Yeah, the team. So whenever I joined the team, actually it 12? I think it might have been fucking older. When I joined the team, everybody had mates, and I was like a fucking loner, because they'd
Yeah,
all been playing since like
that's
fucking
daunting. That is,
under
especially
16s.
as a 12-year-old.
I always felt like an outsider, really. And it's funny because by the time I got to like under 16s, I wasn't an outsider anymore. I'd been there long enough, and everybody knew me, and it was good crack. And you kind of grow up as well, and kind of grow in confidence, which
Yeah,
helps. But yeah, at first a total fucking outsider. Total, like, I didn't even want to go. I remember crying to my mum. I'm not going.
what's
Fucking.
What
and it's
what are the rules of Gaelic football?
Gaelic football. Oh, fucking great sport. So you have two posts. They're like rugby posts.
Yeah,
So
but with like football, aren't they? Like they're like a little bit of football in it as well, isn't there?
oh yeah, so it's just the goal posts are like, like this is a big wide field. There's 15 men on a team. Um, you've got your the if the ball goes over the bar between the two posts, it's a point. If the ball was in the back of the net, past the goalkeeper, it's 3 points. So a goal is
Oh,
worth three points, and a point's a point. You can kick a point from anywhere. You can kick a goal from anywhere. But obviously, it's easier to get closer to score a goal. Um, you can kick the ball out of your hands, but you can't travel. It's kind of like basketball. You can only go like 3, 4 steps. It's 4 steps, and you've got to soul the ball, like kick it up back up into your hands. So drop it to your foot, kick it back up,
yeah.
or bounce it. You can't bounce it twice in a row. So if you bounced it, you can't bounce it again. You got to soul it the second time. Um, and what was the other thing?
Can you
Uh,
tackle?
you can tackle. You have to go. The rules are right. You've got the rules are a bit sketchy in Gaelic football, to be honest. So you've got to go for the ball, right?
Yeah.
So if you get the ball and you happen to fucking hit them on the way in, but you were definitely going for the ball, then it's not a foul.
And I imagine the lower you go as well, the lower leagues you go, the refs aren't asked. Like
Well,
you could go in with your head. You could go in with your head and like, yeah, that's a clean tackle.
to be honest, right? This is where like the dark side of performance comes out really for me. I remember doing some stuff and like I think it was under 14s and you're going out and your opponent and I'm going out like standing on his fucking toes and stuff. Like with studs, like really nasty shit, punching him in the ribs. As soon as the referee's not looking, I'm like really winding this guy up, trying to break his mind, trying to
one
get
of
him to
one of my mates, he used to play academy for a local, let's say a local rugby league team. I won't drop the team in it, but
yeah.
and he played under eights, I think. And he said back then when he was under eights, he's my age now, but he said the coach was promoting him to gouge eyes, and it's, as an under 8-year-old.
I specifically remember one match right where the guy was really good. He was like a Tyrone. I think it was either under 16s or minor football was playing, and the guy was a Tyrone minor, so he was like a county minor. So like you've got county and you've got club. We were club, and this was a county player and a club team. He was fucking beast,
Yeah.
like he's real good at it. And basically, coach pulled me to the side to start the match. Says, "Take him the fuck out." It's like I don't give a fuck what you do. Take him the fuck out. Both of you come off the field if needs be.
In all honesty, though, T, do you think that kind of coaching was bad? Like, I know, obviously, let's take the injuries aside.
Okay, so morally, maybe yeah, but
Yeah,
I think that we've become so fucking wrapped
right.
up
Yeah,
in a soft ass society that
yeah,
stuff like that is abhorrent now. When it was just the norm, it was just the fucking norm. It was
yeah.
part of performance. It was part of a strategy that coaches were playing. Yeah, it wasn't great for kids to do, but we were fucking 16 at the. I mean, I think it was actually minor football. We were nearly fucking men.
So,
Really.
like, again, I think in this day and age as well, like you're under tens, under nines, under sevens football, they don't have a league because they want everyone to have that winners mentality. And I'm
Oh,
like,
so
where
stupid.
where are they going to get that winners mentality if they're not winning?
Right, fucking sports days in schools. Sports days in
Yeah,
schools are no longer sports days. They don't sprint. They don't run against one another. It's a
really.
fucking team event. I swear, right? So this is the thing, right? So I learned this from my partner's nephew, Henry. He's Jesus, he's 13 now. He's 13. But in school, we went to sports day when we first met, and well, first year or whatever, and they weren't competing. I remember going to sports day and hearing all about it and everything, and saying, what's actually happening? This doesn't look like a sports day that I remember. We did shot put and sprints, and
Yeah,
there was
like
winners, there was
I
announcements and
remember.
winners. And
I
where
remember
the fuck?
specifically if you didn't walk away with a sticker that said first, second, or third, you was devastated. Like it was
Oh
only a little sticker that said
yeah,
first or second or third, but you're a kid, and I think that definitely builds character for sure. Like
yeah,
competitiveness, like
absolutely, man. See, at primary school, right? I was shit at everything. In all honesty, I was really
You both, mate.
yeah. So like, I remember doing like the sprint and all. I never fucking won anything in primary school. I was really crap at everything, and I kept doing it because all the kids were doing it. Everybody was doing it. So what?
Yeah,
You lost. You know what? 3 people out of the whole fucking class won everything. They were just
yeah,
like the natural athletes,
yeah.
and then first year came or whatever, and puberty fucking must have kicked in. And then all of a sudden, I was fucking great at everything. I went through like peaks and troughs. And obviously, when you're
Yeah.
growing and you fucking lose your balance and shit. So I remember,
Like,
end the first year, I was got shit at everything again. And then second year, I come back and it's fucking all of a sudden class at football and all. And how the fuck did this
yeah.
happen? You know. Um,
I, I think from leaving year 9 to going into year 10, I was always a tall kid. Like I was always a tall kid, but I think from leaving year 9, I was 6 foot, and then going into leaving year 11, I went 6'5". I'm like, that is some height to reach in 2 years.
that's insane.
But like say before then, I was always the rubbish kid. Like I think the only time in primary school I got picked for a team, like my teacher came and called me in and asked me to pick the team for the B team. I was like, well, this is really weird. Like, what? And obviously, I put myself in the team.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is really weird. Why has he got me to do this? Like, he pulled me. I thought I was in trouble. And then later down the line, when I find out, my mum was dating this teacher, like legit. I was like, that is the only way you got picked for a team, because it was kind of like a pity, and that's how bad I was.
Yeah, I was like that in primary school. I was physically not that like I was shit at everything too.
Just to clarify, that was primary school, not high school.
Yeah, that's the thing though. But that's what makes it so much sweeter whenever you do get good at something. So you
Yeah,
know what? So say I never got that good at anything, I still would have been trying to get good at it. The whole fucking time because I didn't want to always come away with no fucking medals. Everybody wants to
but
win. So
that's the same to be said. Like, if no one's winning, who then wants to get better to then win? Like,
yeah, there's no drive. There's no
yeah,
reason to want
absolutely,
to be
yeah,
the best.
absolutely,
It completely kills any kind of development, I think, personally.
absolutely.
I mean, don't
But
get me
like,
wrong.
I think
Sorry, go ahead. Of
there's a middle area, isn't there? There's a middle
course
area.
there is.
Like, it's not to the point of where we're telling kids to gouge people's eyes out. Like,
Yeah,
we're not trying to live like through gladiators in kids, but there's definitely you need to have that competitive edge. Like, I think
definitely.
that's why like America and like places like that in Australia and New Zealand, they all have this mentality because it's instilled from a very young age,
Mm.
and the passion that those guys, especially for rugby, like you can obviously there'll be other sports in other countries that there's passion for, but like if you look at New Zealand and their setups, and like they're competing from four, like
Yeah, yeah.
the
It's a
leagues they're
competitive environment right away. But
and it's
that's where the best. I mean, that's where people grow as well. Competition breeds growth, no matter what, right? So
yeah,
if you're taking away a huge portion of what's breeding growth, I'd say a lot of kids that are now kind of say lost their way or and they don't doing dumb shit. If they had competition early on, they had something to strive for. Maybe they could channel the energy into, then they wouldn't have fucking ended up maybe where they are doing dumb shit. I
absolutely.
don't know, just a thought, like, but
I think one thing, my wife is gonna, well, we're due in a week and a half, 2 weeks.
that's one.
I've said to her, I said, like, when he's 4, like, he's going wrestling, just not boxing. Not, I want him specifically wrestling,
Yeah,
because like you instantly get what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Respect. You get respect for your talent that you're about to have, and you get respect for people around you, and also you get that competitive edge, don't you? But also you get the confidence that if, because a massive fear of mine, T, is my child being bullied, and I don't want him to be a bully, but I want him to be able to not. I don't want him to punch anyone. This is going to sound awful, but I want him to be able to de-escalate a situation and be
yeah,
confident in doing so. And
fucking right.
I think wrestling is is the way forward. And it's a shame that we don't do it so much in this country because, like in
Hmm.
America, it's a
Yeah,
child sport.
it's a fucking
It
great
is.
sport. Such a good
Yeah,
sport. That's the thing. Like, I think the other thing good about wrestling is it generates ridiculous athleticism. So even if I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but
yeah,
if
boy.
it's a boy, man, cool. I've got two girls so far. I don't know if the next one. I'm actually due. We're due in August next year. So,
Fingers
or
crossed,
this
mate.
this year now. Fucking hell, August this year.
Congratulations, by the way. That's
Good man.
massive.
So like I don't know, maybe boy girl. I don't know yet. So but my oldest Thora, she's 4 now as well. So as soon as this lockdown ends, I'm going to take her myself to a local MMA gym that does like kids like fitness classes. They're not even really
Yeah,
wrestling classes or anything else, but just going to get her in that environment. And I've already started to mess around and teach her like grappling, jiu-jitsu and stuff.
yeah.
She loves playing with that stuff. They love that kind of thing.
And
Wrestling
it's
with their
getting them
daddy,
comfortable with that, isn't it? It's getting them comfortable
Yeah,
because obviously they, especially at 4, they don't have the attention span to definitely like to learn like
it's just
a
having
full
fun.
yeah of
Yeah,
a Peruvian necktie. They're not going to be
yeah.
able to lock in a Peruvian necktie, but just getting in comfortable in that environment, I think that's awesome, mate.
Was it? I mean, one of the good things, I guess, for with all this lockdown is I've been training at home. And the kids see that. They see me training every day, and well, nearly every day, and they're, oh, what's Daddy's doing it again. My youngest now, Alva, she's just 1 turned there, and then on the 19th of January, and she's like laughing her head off because I'm doing handstand push-ups. She sees me upside down. She's like, what the fuck's Daddy doing? He's weird.
Yeah.
She's just
How
giggling and laughing her head off. That's
how
great.
do you separate? Because obviously our homes are there are sanctuaries, aren't they? Like the where we go to relax and unwind. How how do you take your mind into the preparation of going into training your home? If that makes sense, because it's almost like training at work, isn't it? Like,
It's not. I'll be honest. It's not easy training at home. I train probably harder in the gym, if I'm
yeah,
honest. What I've kind of come to the conclusion of, especially with the kids, like I've kind of just accepted the fact that it's not going to be like one of my sessions at the gym where I'm at like 100% there in the moment. Everything's whatever. Everything's I'm locked in and I'm giving 110% and everything. But so I kind of taken a strategy of like 80% most days. So if I can hit 80% of my capacity most days, then I'm okay with that. Like, even if I'm doing maximum reps, I know that realistically I've probably got another 3 in me, even when
yeah.
I finish the set. Um, like today, one of my things was to do handstand push-ups for maximum reps for 3 sets.
I was
And
just watching a video. Actually,
oh yeah, wee training videos. I just
yeah,
it's just something to try and help people in this lockdown. Everybody's in the same boat as me, I guess. Who know anybody who did train before, and there's no structure. There's I'm not what am I doing? So it's just some stuff that people. It's what I'm doing at home. So maybe somebody else want to do it too.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so like stuff like that, I just kind of I accept that it's going to be maybe 80%. And when I did that, it just made everything a bit easier. So one, I'm not having to do that big mental prep. So it's kind of
Yeah,
like I've almost treated it's like leisure time rather than training. Because when I go into training,
yeah.
the psychology of training, like if you're competitive minded at all, like if you go into the training mode, it's fucking
You got a process. You got a
blinkers
process.
on. It's different. I'm not doing that. It's like leisure. It's like going a walk or
Yeah,
going for a swim or something. It's
for a
different.
mental space, mental
Yeah,
break. Yeah,
exactly. It's a bit different. So don't get me wrong. Half the time I'm between sets. I mean, it takes sometimes it can take half an hour just to get the kids out of the way enough, just for long
yeah.
enough to do like a 3 or 4 minute video to tell people how to train. You know,
What other than obviously, I want. You won't have it any other way. But I love
no,
I watched 2 of them. I watched 2 of your videos, and every single exercise has substance. And there's like
oh,
because
sure. Thanks,
a
man.
lot of workouts, especially home workouts, there's just a lot of fluff, isn't there? Like there's a lot
Yes,
of
fucking
for
dicky shit.
every, and obviously there's not much variety of what you can have. But like every single exercise, I was like, yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. I was watching the Bulgarian split squat EMOM with
Oh
the
yeah,
yeah.
nasty. It's really nasty, that little one. Do you know what?
Yeah,
I actually was deceiving because I thought to myself, I'll be all right. I'll be okay doing this. And then it got to them goblet squats at the end, and like I had to talk to myself a little bit because I got to like, round 5. And I was thinking, I don't even want to do another set. Like I can just quit. Nobody's going to see me. Nobody's going to see me quit this set. You know. So like, even Ash won't know. Ash won't even fucking know if I quit this set. Uh, so I'm like fucking in my head. Then I'm like, you fucking pussy. I can't even say I
I,
was really
I think
dead.
that's why I always like to. I always like to if I imagine, like, especially in the last lockdown, I was pushing myself on like just some disgusting workouts. That's what kind of pushed
I've
me
seen some of
into
your fucking nasty ass workouts, man. They're
the
fucking
24
ridiculous.
hours on the bike. But like, I think if I video my last sets, like if I video these workouts, it makes me accountable to do it. Like if I video it and then I'm going to post it, then I have to finish it because then I
Yeah,
can't possibly post a video that's not finished. And it just makes, especially having that video, especially working on your own, makes your work just that little bit harder because you want to look good on a video. Of course you do. You don't want to look like
yeah,
everyone else.
yeah, of course. Put your best foot forward, obviously. But it's
Yeah.
true that like even whenever I post the videos, like some of my tutorial ones, I'm trying to make them user friendly. So I don't want to I don't have the fucking capacity on my phone where I'm shooting everything to keep storing like 30 odd videos or whatever. Um, so and like shooting 20-minute videos every day, it's hard. I mean, you have kids walking in the middle of it. You know, Alva will pick up the phone and all you'll see is baby's face. So it's just like that's the reality of training at home. And so I've tried to kind of like make it so that the tutorials are like maybe 7-8 minutes long at the very most times like 4 or 5 minutes. So although I don't have to do them, don't have to do the full set, so to speak, or it's just the full session on camera. Whenever I've filmed that and given that out to people, I feel obliged then. It's like, well, if I've given that out for people to do, there's no fucking way I can go and like half-ass this session.
Yeah.
I've got to, as I say, I set my marker at 80% because it's sustainable for me. I've got to give this, I've got to complete everything. I can't skip sets. I can't, so because I've told other people that that's what I'm doing. So that's what I'm doing. And
Absolutely.
one of the things that it's actually something that I've realized is far stronger. It's like it's weird because I've done it all my life, right? Or most of my life. I can't think of any specific time when I haven't. But uh, it's I've realized its power, and I'm only realizing its power now. I'm fucking nearly 30, and it's doing exactly what you said you were going to do. So when I say I'm going to do something, I fucking do everything I possibly can to make it happen. Like even down to silly things. Like I told people I was going to get a motorbike. I did. At the end up, I was second guessing whether I should because I've got kids, But yeah, I fucking done it because I said I was going to do it. And it's not about what anybody else thinks. I don't give a fuck, really. It's not. It's not about that. It's about the fact that I said it.
Yeah, staying true to yourself. I think there's nothing
Yeah.
more empowering than that. I've done like a planner of what I want to achieve in like this year, and like some of the things like now, like even this, like I get really nervous around like like voicing, like me speaking on a video, and
Mm-hmm.
this is completely new to me. So this is itself
You're doing
like
good, man.
um, because it's I think I want to get in a position where I am comfortable speaking on a video because then you're speaking to a lot bigger of an audience, aren't you? But I think like just like you were saying, if you commit to something that you said you're going to do, it's it's a massive thing. It's huge.
I think
And I,
like it's funny because even there's actually a funny story about that. Whenever I was like 18, 19, and me and a group of friends, we all said we were going to do a trip. We were out having a drink, obviously, and we all said we're going to do a road trip in Donegal. I was going to drive, and everybody thought, because we're out in the pistol, that nobody would show up the next time. Like nobody's going to show up, and it was kind of like everybody kind of thought that it wasn't going to happen. Well, I went round everybody's house. Like it was on a think it was a Friday morning. We set off, so I went round, collected everybody on the Friday morning. They're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, oh, I thought you were joking. I was like, I'm not joking. Get your ship. We're going. We're away for a week. Like,
Well, we've
pack your bags. And we did. We went round Donegal for like, well, it wasn't a week. It was 4 days, but it was quality. So I mean, it was such a good time as well. So I think whenever you just you commit to something, even if it's crazy, even if it's something like silly as that, it creates experiences for you. So if you commit
absolutely.
something, follow through. It's not just
Calluses
about
of the brain, well, calluses of the brain.
yeah, exactly, and
Yeah.
it's not just about as I say, doing what you said you're going to do or achieving anything. It's not necessarily about the outcome. It's that you set yourself that thing, and even if it's crazy and silly and you second guess it, go through with it anyway, just because.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I mean, that's why whenever I was like committed to the masters and stuff, and whenever we found out Thor was coming, I was halfway through it, and I thought, fucking hell, I don't know if I'll be able to cope with trying to raise a family, raise a child, and look after a family, and do this masters and run a business. I don't know if I'm going to manage all that.
You
And
still
then,
found a way.
well, yeah, exactly. And whenever you just blindly commit to things, you kind of have to take a leap of faith a lot of times. And
Yeah.
when you do take that leap of faith and just decide that some way or another you're going to make it happen, it does happen. Sometimes it's crazy, but it happens.
Yeah. Like when me, Jamie, and my friend Greg used to train, like, and this still applies now. Um, we used to have like a saying: if you think it, you've got to do it. And if it was a disgusting set, well, you
Love
thought
that
it
shit.
now, you've got to do it. You've got to
Yeah.
do it. And that then transferred across. So we even say now, like, that's 10 years ago. And me and Greg still live by that. Like, if we think of something, then we have to follow through with it. Like, I thought, like, he thought of doing, I think, what was he going to do? He was going to do 250 meters every hour for 24 hours on the rowing machine. And I said, "Oh, I'll do it with you, but I'm just going to stay on the bike." And he goes, "Well, no, mate, that makes me sound terrible then. I'll just have to stay on the rower." And it got to, so we did it, but in that moment when we kind of agreed to do this, in our head we'd already done it. Like, there was
Yeah, yeah.
there's, and I only realized this when I was like looking back on it, but in our heads we'd already completed it. It was already done. Like, that's how it was. That's because we've, over time, we just, if we've said it, then it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got some crazy challenges this year. Me and Greg.
Class.
One of them's a 60K ultra marathon, which
Fuck.
he's training fairly hard for, and I'm not. I'm not. Full stop. Like, if
You're doing
I'm
a 60K run.
yeah, if I'm torturing myself, I'm doing it once because I don't really like running. And he's he's really structured his programming. Like, he's doing like a 15
Isn't he
miler.
giant as well? Craig's a
Oh
huge
yeah,
guy.
he's 6'6". He's as tall as me, and he's like he's 19 stone, or just, I think he's just crept into the 18s now, and he's no cartilage in his knees, and like, he got blown up in Afghanistan, and he's doing a 60K run.
Fucking
Yeah.
uh, a
Um, but
60K
like,
run. Fucking hell.
he has found a love for running, and every credit, like, but I love that, the challenge. Like, don't get me wrong, I will do a little bit of training for it, but I hate running. I'm not going to be running
Mate,
15 miles.
I
No,
fully get you. I
no
remember
shot.
there's actually another instance where this exact same thing happened. What you're talking about, like, you described it actually better than me. Like, if you say you're going to do something, and I think it might have actually come from training as well. I'm not sure where the fuck it actually came out of. I think it's a family thing. I don't know. But we were coming home from work one day when I was actually building as well as labouring with my dad at the time. And I'm coming home from work in the van. My dad said, "Oh, I'd really love to do a marathon. Just out of the blue, he just said it. We're nearly at the house, and he's like, "Oh, I'd really love to do a marathon." That's right, then let's do one this year. This is like, I think this is like December, January
That is
sometime.
crazy.
And I said, "Right, okay, let's do one this year." And then I went on that night, and we booked the Belfast Marathon in May. And it's
and got it
funny
done.
because yeah. Well, here there's actually a story of this one. So this is one of the one times actually. I says I couldn't remember one, but this is actually one of the times where it did fucking. This is how much it played in my head. So um, we've been preparing. Me and my dad started running that January. We were out, every morning, pretty much, fucking pitch black, running on black ice and shit, getting ready for this marathon. I'd never done long distance in my life as a sprinter at school, for fuck's sake. Long distance did not suit me, and so we trained anyway, and I was prepared for it. And I was in a job. With the building had cleaned in that space and time. The building had dried up, and I got another job in a call center, and I booked the time off that May to go, and they told me that I couldn't go. They told me I couldn't have the time off, so I quit the job. Uh, so I quit. Yeah, I quit my job. I just said I'm going. Look, mate, I booked this time off, and he looked at me like I was nuts. Like he's looking at me like, you just quit a fucking job to run a marathon. I said, yeah, pretty much.
You said it.
I said I was going to do it. So, and it was gutting because actually what happened was about a month out. So it was due to run in May. In April, I started getting plantar fasciitis. I don't know if you've ever had it. I don't know if you've ever had it or anything, but I'm I swear to God now, I'm a pretty tough guy. I'll be honest. I know I've got a decent pain threshold. I couldn't even stand. I literally, when I get up in the morning, I couldn't stand for any length of time. I had to sit down. Um, I'd started actually doing, because it started to want to, I started in the call center and I realized that I'd never want to be here for the rest of my life. So I started working towards getting into sport. This all happened within those couple of months. And I started volunteering at a school, doing volunteer PE teaching. And I had a fucking call in sick. I was like, I can't even walk. So I couldn't walk about or anything else, much less run. And I started at the time. I was starting to research about sports training and stuff, and I started the coaching mind started to come in. I probably, I still question myself this day. Could have done it, but the coaching mind came in on me, and I says to my dad, "Look, I'm really sorry, Dad. I can't run with you, but you do it. Do the marathon." And one of my dad's friends jumped in on my place and did the marathon with him. So we went that day, and the plantar fasciitis started to kind of ease off, but I hadn't trained for a month at that point. I was still I'd done cross trainer, like I was doing elliptical stuff and all that, doing like 3-4 hours in elliptical, trying to get ready for it, still thinking I could do it. But even, the week I was still fucking badly inflamed. But and I was down at him that day, I was still limping about. And he finished the marathon, and that day it annoyed me so much that I hadn't run it. It was like playing in my mind. Like I couldn't even enjoy the fact that he just run his first marathon because I was fucking in my own head so much that I hadn't done something that I said I was going to do. And I booked it that day. I found out that the Newry marathon was a month later. I booked it that day. So we were sat in the pub having a pint. I paid and everything, booked it that day, and I went and ran the Newry marathon a month later.
Makes me want to go out and run now.
Yeah, I know it fucking gets in your head. It does, doesn't it?
So there's another one where and I guarantee after we've stopped talking after that day, I guarantee you'll have so many thoughts of like, oh, this time that's when I did it, and that time that's when I did it. Like, yeah. Me and Greg in 2019 we did an ultra like assault course, we ended up doing like 27 miles of an assault course over like a 6 or 7 hour period. And I realized that I had a phobia and a fear of cold water. Like, just, I don't know why. We had to jump in I never realized, I've never give it a second thought, jumped into this water, like very cold water, it had ice in it, started massively panicking on the first lap. And I was like, I really don't like this. And then we did 3. And I was trying to find every excuse of how I didn't have to go into this water and submerge myself in this water. I was like, what's wrong with me? I've never been like this. I've ended up doing it, but I've had to kind of from the start, from the start line of where you go on again. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you're gonna have to do this, or you just walk around this time. And I didn't, but it really played in my head. It's like, why am I such a little pussy when I this cold water? And it really played in my head, and from that day when we finished, me and Greg booked. So I don't know if you've seen it. It's called the Neptune Steps. It's a Red Bull event, and you're swimming in 3-degree water in a canal up a canal in Glasgow where I think it's got like 8 locks where you'll swim, you'll climb up, swim, climb up, swim, climb up, and you've got to break through the ice. And I thought, I need to get over this phobia because I hate being scared of things. And we didn't get to do it because it was in when COVID came in.
Ah, shit.
But
Yeah.
I grew a massive love for cold water swimming. Like I only go swimming in this type of weather. Like the colder the better for me now. And I think like that's a massive achievement because from
Yeah,
being
it
in a
is.
point of I'm terrified of it and I'm quite literally drawn to it now. Like we was up Old Man Constant the other day and the other week, sorry, not the other day. And I was just drawn to getting in it, just stripping off and trying and just getting into the water. Do you know what I mean? Like
I've been like that
it's
since I
just
was a teenager. It's weird. It's
yeah. I
like
think
you're
you
saying,
got
it's
it.
really weird.
Like
Um,
but I could quite easily let it go. Quite easily, like, oh, I was just scared of it, but I was like, no, I want to overcome this. Like I'm not comfortable with this. And when I think about it, I've been like anything I've been uncomfortable with, I've made sure I try to get a little bit more comfortable with it. And
that's
yeah,
it's funny that, isn't it? That's the thing. Like, can you class that wanting to become comfortable with the uncomfortable? Is that a character trait? Is it something that's coachable? Is it not coachable?
I
This
think
is all the stuff that
I think
plays in my head.
I personally think we all have it as human beings. Like
I
I
think so.
personally like I don't know if it's just me thinking about like stoicism, but like I think that's what sets us apart from other mammals. Like just us wanting to better ourselves. And
I think it's true. I think it is a part of the human condition. But it's crazy as you
I think
talk
we just
about.
don't know it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when you look back at it, like it's stoicism, but we've done it without knowing what it is. Like
Hmm. It's
like I
more
think that
instinctual than that, isn't it? It's not like
yeah,
a
actually,
it's
I
not a
think that's
philosophy as such. It's an instinct.
blows my mind. Yeah, it's like instinctual, like you say, it blows my mind. When you do something that has a name and it's has its own kind of teachings, yet it comes natural
Mhm.
almost.
Well, that's the thing. Like a lot of the stuff that I started to learn, I started to read a lot of books. Later on in my coaching, the last probably 5 years or so, I've been kind of obsessed with reading. This year, actually, I went through a spell where I stopped reading. I kind of lost myself during COVID, which I kind of pertained to in one of my messages, or one of my posts recently. Don't mind saying it. I don't have any shame over it at all. Like I think we all went through a weird year, and it was a weird year for me because I pretty much everything that I'd spent fucking 10 years busting my ass for was gone. It just disappeared. So, you've got to ask yourself those questions at that point. And it simply came down to one day I was thinking to myself, is this like first of all we found out that our third one was on the way, and I was excited about that and everything. And I thought to myself, well, I was kind of avoiding thinking about it. I think, but I realized I was, and then because I'd found out that news, it sparked subconsciously or whatever. It sparked that thought in me. Then I thought, well, is this what I'm going to bring kids up in? What am I to be? Who am I to be? What is this? What's
Yeah,
going to become of me now? Like I've done all this, but it's I thought I can't bring them up in a world where I've not orchestrated what I want from life, because then what the fuck can I give to them? You know. So anyway,
yeah,
that thought would not leave my mind, and then I decided to go and do a whole online, like kind of focusing on men's, because I feel like, don't get me wrong, I've worked with a lot of women in the past as well, a lot of female clients, and got good success with them as well. But I feel like there's, um, I find it easier and more. I understand, not easier, it's not actually easier, but I understand men a little bit more. So sometimes when,
you can relate.
well, yeah, I guess I can relate, and I think there just seems to be some kind of understanding that I have, and whenever I've taught men, the results last a bit longer. Whereas sometimes when I've taught women in the past, it's weird because I've had like long-term female clients. It's kind of actually the relationship kind of turned in on itself, and it ended up pretty
Yeah.
negative. And maybe it's just those negative experiences put me off again. I don't know. I've had some really positive ones as well. Don't get me wrong. You know, a couple of female clients I'm still coaching at the minute, 1-to-1, via Zoom, and you know, those relationships are still fantastic. So it's not to talk about them, but I do feel like I've got a lot to offer in regards to just focused on men. But anyway, I've went off on a fucking tangent.
Well, that's where it's almost where like your passion lies, so to speak, doesn't it? Like that's
Yeah,
where you feel like you'll make your best work right now.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I feel like I've had the most impact in those areas in that area. So that's one that I want to pursue more. And I feel I don't know how to word it, but I feel like I can get that. I feel like I can get right into
Oh
men's
yeah,
heads,
definitely.
whereas I can't
We
quite
get
get into a woman's head the same way. You know, I feel like I know that,
yeah,
for example, you can push buttons on a man. You start poking at his ego, you can fucking get all sorts out of him.
yeah,
So you know, whereas the woman, they don't seem to respond that same way. Um,
yeah. I get what you're saying there,
yeah, but
100%.
it's weird how, like, see the cold water thing. Like everybody seems to be on that recently. I don't know if you've noticed, but like I mean, I've been
Yeah,
lucky, really lucky. My dad and my uncles, like, my dad and my uncle specifically, used to take us swimming out in the sea. So you're swimming in the Atlantic. It's never warm, but like, you know, in summer it's
that
not
sounds
warm.
incredible.
But you know, we'd be going on like New Year's Day. I remember going to Ards on New Year's Day and jumping in the water, and and we have this thing called you break your duck. Have you ever seen a duck where they stick their head under the water? So you never
Yeah,
go in the water without getting your head in. You always got to get your head in. So I mean, it
and I
got
think
a bit crazy, like, because even whenever I remember having a girlfriend at 16, was it 16 or 17, and we were going to, I've been older than that actually, shit, we were 18, say, and we are going to drive, and we just happened to be passing a beach that we weren't even going to the beach, we were going to the town that was past that beach. But I said, I'm just going to stop here for a minute. So I stopped, pulled into the beach. I got off. I didn't even fucking, I had no shorts on me or nothing. I just stripped off down to boxers, straight in. I went for a fucking swim. And she's looking at me like, what the fuck have I got myself into? But
I think what's good that what transfers across, when we were saying about the jiu-jitsu is when all you can think about is jiu-jitsu when if you're in the cold water, all you can think about is actually breathing. Like you can't think about anything else because you're trying to breathe.
right, that's right. Yeah, it seems to be seems to be a lot to it. Obviously, physiologically, we've got a lot happening with it, and psychologically. And
Yeah.
use it in the likes of Netherlands and everything for treating the
Oh yeah.
depression.
I think there's a TV program my wife was watching the other week, and I don't know what it was, but I think it was in Finland, and there was a hotel that just backed onto an iced lake, and it just had two holes in it, and you could just go swimming in it. I was like, that is my dream.
Yeah, it's class. It's funny because even though, I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy getting in the cold water. There's a buzz off it, but
Are you almost drawn to it though? Are you
oh,
almost like, do you know when you see
I,
what
I
cold water? You're just like, I need to go and swim in
yeah, I can't
it.
fucking. If I go near a beach or a lake or anything, I'm going in. Like,
Yeah.
no matter, it doesn't matter who's there or what I'm dressed like. It doesn't. None of that matters. If I'm at the
Yeah.
beach, I'm getting in the water. No matter the
Yeah.
time of year, doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's fascinating, mate. I'm exactly the same now. Like, I mean, before I was, but even like I didn't know I was scared, but before I knew I was scared, I wouldn't think twice about not going in. Like, it wouldn't be like on my to do list to go. I need to go straight in there, just like
Yeah,
it's water. But like, that's not me saying, oh, I'm trying to stay clear of it. I didn't even know how to feel cold water, but
yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
So another thing, I know as you kind of, well, you've already answered it in some ways, but the MMA. I mean, how did you had a fair fight and then you just decided, right, fuck it, I'm gonna take an MMA fight.
I wouldn't
Not a
quite
fair
say,
fight. Sorry, but say
yeah, I wouldn't quite say fear fine, but like I I just wanted to. I think I wanted to mix my training up. I was getting very stagnant in my training, and I thought I'll just give MMA a try. So I thought looked on. I said MMA as a broad aspect. Looked on the timetable for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. That sounds class. I didn't even know what it was. Like I knew what Jiu Jitsu was. I didn't even know what Brazilian Jiu Jitsu was. I went down. I'm like, this is insane. It was actually me and Greg went down. And you've been to reps. Imagine two 6'6" guys in the top on the top floor of reps.
My head.
It was like two walruses going at it like that. And then from there, I loved it. So I carried on with the jiu-jitsu, and then obviously when you get into the jiu-jitsu, you want to watch more jiu-jitsu. Like before then, I wouldn't even know what it was, but I actually because you understand, have a
you get
little
to understand what's going on, yeah, a little bit.
And you can appreciate what they're getting into and what they're tangling themselves into. And then I kind of came on quite quick as because I was getting
you were good when I rolled with you anyway. Really good.
Well, I wouldn't say good, but I just had a good understanding. I think I had a good jiu-jitsu brain. I didn't know what to do with it, but I think I had a good jiu-jitsu brain at the time. And then I got asked to spar with one of the lads that was getting ready to fight. Oh no, so and then I watched my first MMA fight, and as I was sparring with this guy who was wanting to fight, and the adrenaline you get from watching, I was like, this is insane. I want to be in there. Like this is in like it was intimidatingly like pumping. Like like everything was just engaged in my body. I've not felt that in God knows how long. I was stimulated. Let's put it that way. And I was like, I need to do this. And I said to Steve, I said, can I go on the next one? He was like, no chance, not ready. And then I asked him on the next show, kept on training. I was like, I've got to get his acceptance. I've got to get his acceptance. Can I fight on this one? No, you're not ready. Oh, God's sake. All right. So I carried on. Yeah. I was like, can I fight on this one? He went, you can't fight on this one, but you can fight on the next one. I was like, yes, get in. I'll take that. So from that point on, I think there was a fight, it was the October fight. And he agreed that I could fight on the March one. And I just trained like a demon. But I think now looking back at it, I think I like trained myself out of love with it. Not in that sense, I wouldn't say, but I did it too much. Like I kind of lived it for that time. And I did the two fights and then that loss, and then it kind of I realized I don't know if it's because obviously because if I love it, then the money that I lost through the training wouldn't be an issue. So obviously there was some love lost along the way that I've made myself think about. Right, I've rationalized it. Do I want to do this? Is it worth it? So I've probably gone looking for an excuse. I carried on with the jiu-jitsu. Like I did a few competitions afterwards, but it's something that I definitely want to kind of keep in.
Yeah, I don't think there's any harm. Like I think, I think it's funny. There's a lot of people, that'll judge you, and I think that we've both competed in the cage, and if you've competed in the cage, you kind of come away from it and you think to yourself, should I go back in there? Sometimes you even feel the need to go back in.
Yeah.
But and you're probably thinking, are people judging you at home, or other people that are they going, oh, you tried it and didn't like it or whatever? But realistically, anybody who's not been in there making any kind of judgment or statement is irrelevant.
The only people that are going to judge you are the people that have never been in there anyway. Like that's the bottom line. Like, I mean, sure, people who have been there will have their opinions on what they should do, but it's only what they think is going to be best for you. It's not like they're judging you, but like you'll get the odd person that's judging you that's never been in a situation like that. And what I don't think, what I didn't anticipate, like, because what I didn't like is that obviously the environment is a whole part of it, is that under the lights with the adrenaline and you're nervous, you do not show your skill set off. And it's like, to these people, I just looked this good. And I knew I'm not saying I was good, but I knew I was a lot better than I performed.
Yeah.
And it's like, because of the elements, it's like, even just walking down to the cage, it's like my legs just felt like they was going to give in, like Joe, with all the anticipation around the fight, and it's like obviously when you have the first punch, then it all goes. Like, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah. No, but
I think
I think you've had a very truthful point there. You're never as good in the cage as you are in the gym.
no,
Like that's just a fact of life. I think if you talk to most MMA competitors, they'll agree. I've never heard anybody. Nobody's disagreed with me on that point yet because I was the
yeah,
same. Like I remember, I remember my stand up being like better than my groundwork. And on my first fight, I was able to demonstrate. Funny enough, on my first fight, I was able to demonstrate it properly. Um, and I think it was because I just didn't know what to expect, and it was a small crowd. There was like 300 people there. It wasn't too bad. The second fight, it went from 300 to like 5,000. So I was in a massive fucking
yeah,
stadium in the King's Hall in Belfast, and I've gone out against this guy called Stevie Hazard. His fucking second name was fucking Hazard, for God's sake. So I was thinking to myself, and he had this he had a reputation for being a real fucking hard little cunt, and he was a hard little cunt. He broke my nose, and my jaw actually. And well, we I was so like frazzled from the big
yeah,
lights, the music, the walkout. And when I walked out, I got booed to shit because it was in Belfast and he was from Belfast. So I was like, boo, fucking,
yeah.
I was like, 19, I think. I was 19. I wasn't mature enough to. That's what I'm saying. I
To
think,
deal with that.
yeah, I didn't have the maturity to cope with that. So, you just say, oh, fucking hell, what the fuck am I doing? And everything in your body is like, just leave, just get the fuck out of there,
Yeah,
right? What are you doing? Turn around and go, you know?
the,
Um, and then, as you say, you get in there, you get punched in the face, and
like,
it's like, right, okay,
it's
fight. Right, go
like you
ahead.
have so much bravery for going against what like you've got, because we all have it. Always like, just go home. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's what your brain's telling you. Like, and then to go against what your brain's telling you, it's so brave. Like, I know that sounds pretty soft, but like, I hats off to anyone that's getting in that situation. And just touching up on what you said, like when like you didn't um, anticipate the kind of 300 crowd to the 5,000 crowd. Um, I did. I think I've done 4 or 5 jiu-jitsu comps, and I've come first in one, second in one, and third in one, and then
Decent,
didn't
yeah.
place in one. Didn't place in one, but the one I placed first in one, I didn't train for 6 weeks before it. Like, I'd kind of just. It was after my fight. I'd like in and out. I'd booked onto it, and I just kind of like wasn't kind of engaged with the gym chat. I was just kind of doing my own thing, and I just thought
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it. And Steve said, "You do know you're booked on that?" I said, "Yeah, I'm still doing it." And because there was no kind of
Build up.
yeah, there was no anticipation of for me to perform. I thought I'll do what I'll do. I just pulled it out of the bag and just like performed like an absolute warrior. And I think having that 6 weeks off, I was completely fresh. Like I was as nimble and as mobile as I was prior to having the 6 weeks off. But in my head, I was just like, "Is what it is."
Do you know what? The one of my best experiences actually still was losing an MMA fight. I won three, and then had been built up a little bit because I got scouted. That's how I got in that big fight, the big show. I got scouted onto that from my first fight, and the guy was a better stand-up fighter than me. I ended up ankle locking him, so I won that second fight too. Honestly, what happened inside 4 minutes, it was ridiculous. Me and him actually were having shots of whiskey that night. Later on, we all went to the pub after for the after party.
That's
And
class.
it was great. We were treated like fucking superstars. So we were going in and knocking back whiskey. What do you like to drink? Whiskey, right? Whole fucking tray of whiskey shots, between the two of us. We were joking because his nose was broke, my nose was broke, but he broke my fucking jaw as well. I didn't realize this at the time, but my jaw was aching like bad.
Yeah.
My ankle was all swollen up to shit. Apparently, I'd kicked his elbow. I didn't realize it at the time, but he felt like the connection. So you're there all broken when you're broken. I was dancing that night. Honestly, see the next day I couldn't even fucking walk. So that's what alcohol will do for you. But
Yeah.
sorry. So I'd won the next fight like relatively easily as well. Well, not that one wasn't easy, but the third fight was easy because the opponent was nowhere near the caliber of the second one. and it was like a local fight. It's just it was a first round finish. Fourth fight, come up against a really good competitor who's now fighting in Bellator. Joe McDonald or Joe McColgan. Joe McColgan, real good competitor.
Think of is he got like a quite like a hard man kind of persona about him? As I think
he tries to. Yeah, Joe's a bit of a tries to.
Yeah, I think
so.
He's
Anyway,
quite good.
He's quite good. Yeah, he's quite good. He's probably much better now than he was when I fought him. In fairness, but I had won the first 2 rounds. So there are 2 10-9 rounds. My coach was like, "You're fucking smashing these rounds. Just keep them on your feet, and you've got this in the bag." I was just outboxing him, and I was landing good leg kicks. Things were going well. I even got a couple of takedowns, takedown, stand back up type thing.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So back then, like I know, like Ireland, like the reason that there's a lot of Irish competitors at amateurs over here is that they do it almost like an interclub now in Ireland, don't they?
Yeah,
Did they have that?
They didn't have
like,
it.
You have to wear shin pads and you have to wear a t-shirt now in Ireland.
It's fucking daft. I mean, there was none of that shit then.
It wasn't like that.
No, not at all. It was that fight was full rules.
Yeah.
So that fight
did you have 4 ounce gloves or did you have 6 ounce?
4 ounce gloves. So I had pretty much 4 ounce gloves the whole way through. From my first fight was all padded up.
Yeah.
Because it was this really small, like, and they're full type thing.
Yeah.
Second one, 4 ounce gloves, big spotlights, fucking Sky TV, Sky News, or Sky Sports. It was in Sky Sports 3, like. So like the fights were all televised. I was fucking. I was doing interviews before the fight. What do you know? How are you feeling now? I'm like, fucking shit myself.
So was it professional? Get paid for the fight?
I can't. I think the second one was semi-pro. I think everything after that was pro.
Yeah.
But anyway, fought with Joe. It was a pro fight, and it was funny. It was he. I can't even actually remember what happened, but pretty much the third round, I kept grabbing the fucking cage, and the referee was a bit of a dick. I was actually due to fight the referee that was refereeing my fight. This guy called Decky Larkin, and I don't mind saying his name because if I still to this day if I ever see him, I'm gonna punch him in the face. He basically stopped the fight too early. I was hands on winning the fight. I was in the second round. I had Joe on the ground, and I was giving Joe a good whoop. He was doing, to be fair to Joe, he was actually doing pretty good at like keeping his guard. So he did maintain the guard. But I was landing consecutive shots, and I was looking up at the ref going, "The fuck," you know what I mean? Joe's a hard guy. Like he wasn't knocked out. He's a fucking tough guy. And third round, anyways, I think he got on top of me for a little bit, and he was landing some shots. It was like a half guard position, and we were fighting. And next thing you know, the fight stopped. I was like, "What the fuck's just happened? What the actual?" So this regular guy, I think, was trying to just fucking piss me off because I was due to fight him in August. This was in April, I think, and I was due to fight him in August, and I think he just was just a dick. So he stopped it. He completely stopped the fight early, fucked it up. I think he used the whole idea of me holding the cage as well. I think he used that. So, anyways,
that's
still not fully clear on how that happened, but it was dodgy. I mean, the whole thing was dodgy. Even Joe said, "I don't know how the fuck that happened." So, he said to me after the fight,
especially with the combat sports, there's so any sport, but politics, and when it comes to, especially with how much you have to graft, and if it's taken from underneath you, that's soul destroying. But there's politics in every sport, though, isn't it? So.
But in fairness, like as much as I was pissed, I was fucking furious at the time, and I don't mind saying this. Like I got out of that cage that day, and I cried. Like I had put everything into that fight. Honestly, I was in shape.
I cried after my loss. Like I just think it was all the
just emotion.
I'm not a crying person. I mean, I think
no, same.
Right. I've cried at my wedding. There's a few pictures going around, but I cried at my wedding. But and then I think just as I got backstage, just all this emotion, all this kind of passion just came.
Yeah,
straight flat out. You couldn't control it.
exactly. That's I mean that's pretty much what happened to me. I was just really fucking. What I think what happened as well that day. My dad had been away for a little while. I'm not going to that, but he'd been away for a little while. Um, and he'd been able to come and see my fight, and we didn't think he would, and he got out, and there's a lot of people like was there at the time that I didn't think would make it to the fight, and a lot of my family were there. It was a big backing, so and because I was doing so fucking well as well, I got smashed in the first 2 rounds. I was well ahead. I think somebody says I had knocked him out and then woke him up again with the next shot. I don't think that's true. I think that was like an embellishment. But but anyway, the point was that loss was brilliant for me. It was it was so good because the next fight I actually fought Joe's teammate, another really good really good brawler. But I fought him a month later. I basically got out of that cage that night and I says to my coach, I want in again as soon as you can. I don't give a fuck who it is against them. I want in as soon as you can. And I took a completely different attitude after that. So because my at 3 and I had this idea in my head that I was gonna have a perfect record because everybody knows when you won a fight you're like I'm gonna win forever, fucking daft young, ego going nuts. So whenever I had that loss, it was like almost freeing. It was just freed me up. And I said, okay, well fuck it. So next time I'm just going to fight. Doesn't matter win or lose. I'm going to fight. That's it. So when
Well,
I came into the next one,
they
sorry.
do say that. So as soon as you have your first loss, then there's no expectation, is there? Because people are so scared to lose and like have that clean sheet. They want to keep it. And
Do you know what I always I learned a huge lesson from that actually, and one of the things that I keep in my mind is whenever you're because I think what probably did added to it as much as Blake Larkin was completely out of order for a stoppage. It was a bang out of order stoppage. When you've seen them yourself in the UFC and you're going, what the fuck was that? It was one of them stoppages. So even though that
yeah,
happened, I shouldn't have been in the position where they could have done that. I let myself get in that position, and I realized that.
yeah,
So for me, I thought to myself, I was thinking about the win. I mean, I'd won that fight already. I was just like, I was planning to just keep doing exactly what I was doing the first 2 rounds. It wasn't an easy fight, but it was an in controlled fight. I was in control of the
yeah.
fight, or I felt like I was. I felt like I was better than him, and everywhere we went, obviously I lost, so it's not true. But so that I think it taught me to stay focused on what I was doing when I was doing it. So rather than looking ahead, don't think about the win when you're in the fight. Think about the fight. If that
Yeah,
makes sense. And
yeah, yeah.
I carried that through like a lot of other aspects of my life. That lesson.
I
So
mean,
whenever shit was hitting the fan, I wasn't dreaming. I'm not dreaming of the future. I'm thinking about what I got to do tomorrow to fucking do what I need to do to make that future happen.
yeah. I think that when you do say when you said that, like I think I was too busy thinking about after the fight, and rather than like celebrating with because so many people came to this one. Like
Mm-hmm.
there must have been 100 people that I knew that had come to this particular fight, and I'm like, I just can't wait to after the fight. And it's like
Yeah,
I should have hindsight, should have literally been in the here and now, and it's easier said than done, of course, but
that's really in that circumstance.
yeah, maybe in the future, who knows?
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't regret any of as much as I haven't fought in fucking years. I would need to train for at least a year solid before I could get any kind of standard again. But I think that those experiences have been massive. I would honestly, I would recommend anybody get in and do it. I really would. Anybody ask me, I'm like, yeah, you should try it because you don't really know yourself unless you've been in the fight, and
100%.
especially
It is humbling, like because you actually find out who you are as a person, like, and I think that goes for any, not just any combat sport. Like it's a massive one, but anything that you feel like gives you a bit of an uncomfortable, nervous feeling, and you kind of pursue that. I think that's so brave, and there's so much courage that it takes to do something like that. And then, like you said, you find out who you are.
think we've got so obsessed, haven't we, with our culture. Pardon me. Got obsessed with like inefficiency. We're obsessed with being efficient and comfortable and convenient. Pardon me. Everything's convenient nowadays. Your fucking
Yeah,
food's convenient. Your your fucking TV remote. Remember how you used to have to get up and push the button on the TV? Remember that? We used to have a 50p TV in my nanny's, so you'd get up and you'd put 50p in the TV, and it would stay on for like an
Yeah,
hour because of the 50p. You know,
you've lost me there, mate.
so I'm too old now. You see, that's what it is. But
Well, you're only 2 years older than me. 3 years older.
yeah, you're not that much younger. It's probably because Ireland's like 10 years behind England, like, stuff like that. It's true. Uh, but in the past, we still use oil heating and stuff. We use all central heating, so like oil heating, or not central heating, sorry, gas, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the oil. It's the oil boilers, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, so old
I
oil
think mine
boilers.
have one.
But yeah, it's such a good experience, though it really is. Probably got fucking off
I
on a
think
tangent about fighting
things
too.
like going on about the just being comfortable. I've never felt more alive being in an uncomfortable position than being in if I think if you go through life just being comfortable, like you'll lose your purpose, you'll lose your sense of drive. Like you say, everything just comes too easy these days. Everything's fast. Like
Do you know
if
what?
you've
Um, it's the next best thing to my kids being born. So my kids being born was fucking unbelievable. I don't cry as you were saying, I don't cry often, but I cried when my both kids were born. I've cried both times. I'll probably cry in the next one, and I don't give a fuck.
nope.
It's such an emotional moment, and uh, there's no feeling like it. I can't wait for you to experience it. It's going to be nuts talking to you again when it does.
Can't wait,
Um,
mate. Can't wait.
so, but the next best thing, like the next kind of peak ecstasy, let's say, after that was being in a fight. It's weird, on a
Yeah.
competitive fight.
It's, I think the buzz, like fight day, especially with like your teammates, there's no better feeling. It's almost like not as much, but it's like being on a field with like when you're playing rugby with your teammates. You will play with you. You're playing for each other. Like if that guy does him wrong, you best believe that I'm going to take that guy out. And it's the camaraderie of it, isn't it? Like it's just. I know it's a very much you're in your own on the cage, but it's far from that.
No, it's a team sport.
It's a team sport, yeah, 100%.
Definitely is.
Like,
Because like
I,
all
knew
that
for a fact, yeah, I knew for a fact, like the coaches, like my teammates, like they probably wanted me to win more than I wanted to win, and I definitely wanted to win, but
yeah, it's true that like because even I remember going to watch some of my friends and people who was in a club fight. I sometimes I was more worked up from some of my
yeah,
teammates fighting than I was for myself. I mean, loads of
you're
times.
there, you're there calling the opponent like words that you don't even make sense. You just that like passionate about your mate winning.
That's true, man.
Like realistically, this guy's a professional. Like he'll box my head off, but I'm there, and you just don't give a rat's ass about what you're saying. You're
No,
that passionate.
it's true that it's true. So what? Anyway, we haven't even talked about COVID, right? The massive elephant in the room. We've gone completely on an MMA tangent, but that's all right.
We've talked about MMA for about an hour.
Probably, but fuck it. It's good talk. Good talk.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of these things. Like I try, they're not scripted. It's genuine conversations, and hopefully people enjoy them. I don't really care if people don't at this point. it's just it's something I want to do. So that's it. But
it's like you say, you get raw reactions, don't you? It's organic.
yeah,
Like
it's honest, isn't it? And I think
yeah,
people respond to that.
it's not like Stephen, you've got 5 minutes, 5 seconds before you can speak to someone else. Like it's not one of them, is it? Like
Exactly. What do you make of all this COVID stuff, man? What do you think is going on these days?
um,
I know it's some people don't even want to share their opinions on this, and I don't blame
I
them.
don't mind sharing my opinion. I believe it's a proper thing, but I honestly believe the lockdown will go down as the worst human error that has ever
I
run.
agree. I mean,
Like I just think we've had 3 lockdowns, have masks, and nothing has changed. People are getting like you learn this in year 11 science, and in a virus is going to spread. whether you lock people up, you're just prolonging a spread. It has to spread. And I said to my wife the other day, like I won't go into it too much, but I'm like, if I have any, like I don't have much faith in our government, but if I had any for faith, they would wait until the vulnerable are vaccinated, which would take 6 to 7 weeks if they're rolling out in what they're saying they are, and then there's no reason why life can't just continue. But now they're saying that even the people after 2 weeks who've been vaccinated have to stay in and they can't socialize. But I'm like, surely, like, your T cells and your B cells are there for 10 years. And if you naturally fight it, then surely that's like a vaccine for healthy people. And yeah, I could go on with my opinions but
No, I'm in
I
full
think
agreement, man.
I think something sinister's going on personally.
Yeah,
Um,
of course there is. I think
and
I mean
it's
whenever it first came about, like I have a few clients who are doctors, and I was talking to them about it, and like some of my family, my grandparents, have both had it. They're both in their 80s. One's 87, one's 85. They've both had it now. They've had it rough. My granddad especially had it real bad. It's a real fucking. It's a bad virus. Like he's had Asian flu and everything in his time. He travelled all over the world as an emergency. But so he's had all sorts. And he says it was fucking up there with some of the worst. So it is a bad virus for sure. But they managed it at home with the help of my mum. But my mum went down and stayed with him for pretty much for the full 6 weeks that the whole thing lasted 6 weeks. They kind of had it for 2 weeks, then it kind of went away and then came back with a vengeance.
yeah,
Got much worse then for like 4 weeks. And my mum, she taking care of them and stuff. They managed it at home. Now, obviously, not everybody's going to be able to do that. My granny granddad, honestly, are fucking miracles. The two of them. It's just insane how much shit they've already come through. But, you can't. We were scared. We were scared it could have went the other way, and it could have. But yeah, even with all that emotional attachment to the danger and the negative side of this virus, you have to have. I'm trying to have a level playing field, level head with this. The first lockdown, I think, was an excellent idea. I think we didn't know what the fuck
yeah,
was. We were late to the game. We were late. It was already well in by the time we figured it out. We didn't understand it. We didn't know how to treat it. We fuck all. The first lockdown was absolutely essential. I fully
yeah.
backed it. Straight to the help. I closed the gym early. I closed the gym like a week or 2 weeks before they even announced the
Yeah.
lockdown. I was scared for this virus myself.
Yeah, so was I. I was very, very scared at the start, like to the point I think where I was bleaching my my food shop. My food shop. I was after I came in, I'd bleached my food shop. Like
Yeah.
I was well and
I
truly.
wasn't that bad, but yeah, I totally get though where you're coming from because everything we were doing everything we could. But even then, they didn't close the airports, and they should have. That should have been the first port of call. But they didn't. So
They've only just had some form of input on the airports of like you've got to
quarantine.
quarantine. Yeah,
I know only just now. Like it's a bit fuck. It's like it's like
eight
fucking throwing a
months. Eight
bucket of
months.
water on a burning building.
Yeah,
Well, too late for that.
taking
So
a condom to a baby shower.
exactly. So I mean, the last while. I mean, it looks like they're trying to crash the economy. That's what it looks like to me. It's going to be a bit of a land grab, I think, in a year's time, 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. It's mad. It scares me the more I think about it. I try not to think about
I
it.
know.
I try and think about what's in my control, and
Yeah,
Matt Hancock's not in my control.
true, true. Funny
But it,
enough, actually, that's kind of that same type of thinking is what got me, out of the rut that I was in there earlier. Well, last year.
because
Wait,
it consumed as me. It would have consumed you way more than it did me. But like just watching the mainstream media and being in what is essentially a house arrest is that you're led to like you just completely besotted by this idea that this is like going to kill a lot of people, and it really did consume me, and I got really like down. And the moment I stopped watching the mainstream media and just obviously being very cautious and being a sensible human being,
Yeah.
uh, my life just became a lot easier
Mhm.
because it wasn't. I came off from social media for a bit, and I completely just did my own thing in lockdown to where when you couldn't do anything, um, just because it was just what consumed me far too much.
I mean, I even done, to be honest, I stopped listening to mainstream media probably around the summertime. So I hadn't even
Yeah,
been listening to it for a while. But I think what had happened was that just without realizing it, I'd stopped training for a start. I don't even like know how that happened. It just kind of happened. Um, so I think that was a mistake. And then there was a few major incidents, which I'll not go into. It's way too personal, but a few things happened that kind of just offset your balance just a little. And then before you realize it, you kind of slipped it, completely into it. And it's only whenever you hit the bottom and you think, fucking hell, have I got here?
yeah,
So it was at that point that I realized, hold on, is this all there's going to be? Am I going to let my life be dictated by a fucking lockdown,
yeah,
by some stupid rule? Like, as much, I mean, I am firmly of the belief that if, it doesn't matter what happens, it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, you can make the best of any circumstances. Now, that's,
yeah,
it's shit. I mean, yeah, I even used the extreme case of like a cancer patient. I happen to know a little boy at the minute who's going through it, and he's just a fucking champion. Like, you'd never fucking know. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know. He's
yeah,
going through cancer. He's going through a really, really horrendous time. He's just a champion. Just a kid never stops smiling. And you
yeah.
just you see people like that, and it just fucking makes you hit you in the feels, like, and get you thinking, fucking hell. There's no fucking excuse. Like, if a kid is fucking, a young
Yeah.
teenager could do that, then I need to pick
It's like,
myself up.
and then you start thinking like that. There is no reason how that couldn't have been myself, or it couldn't have
Yeah,
been.
yeah. That can happen to anybody, and that's the scary thing. But
That's why I always try and do, like, I don't do it every day, but I always try and have a bit of a gratitude, like 5 minutes of just like writing down what I appreciate in my life. And I know it sounds a little bit cliche, but it really does really bring it home to you. And like,
it's cliche for a reason. It's cliche because lots of people who, it's not just about success, but a lot of people who are successful and lots of people who have, let's say, reached a decent level of fulfillment, they've done that because they realized that it's a self-perpetuating mechanism. So it helps to
so
boost
easy
you up.
just to get caught up in or minor upsets in life, like, oh, the milk split in the bag, now everything's like
Covered in milk.
stinking in the bag.
Uh,
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up as like, oh, this day's going bad. Well, it could be a lot worse, couldn't it?
exactly. I think that's it's having that perspective, isn't it, to switch off all the outside and try and listen to the fucking internal voice. Try and listen to what
Yeah. Also,
others.
it's important to, if you don't listen to it, to know it's okay not to, and just try and do it the next day. Like, I think a lot of people beat themselves up about like, oh,
Oh yeah,
I just can't think positively. It's not as easy as that, is it? It's like, I can't. The worst thing I could possibly say to you is just think positively, and it's like, well, how the hell do I do that? How the hell am I supposed to think positively? You tell me how to.
I've got this idea that I've kind of cooked up myself over the years. And it's called long-term ego. So ego's great in a lot of ways. You need ego. Something that I've talked about at length with like a couple of people like Ryan and Preston. Had some real good conversations about it. How kind of the good and the bad and the ugly of it, I guess. And a lot of people like these, for example, a dead simple thing, like one that we'd be comfortable with, like going in the gym, say, walking in the gym. For some people, their ego will let them because they don't want to be emasculated by some old guy who's in there squatting fucking 200 kilos, and that'll damage their ego. But that's short-term ego. So I always try and teach people to use long-term ego. So rather than him going and worry about the short-term effects of his ego, think about the long-term effects. So go and challenge the ego is another idea. concept I'm trying to work with. But so if he goes in there, trains with this guy, comes in and says, can I train you? Can I squat with you? Then long term, the long term ego should be kicking in, thinking, I want to beat that. I want to squat more than this guy. I want to beat him. I want to be better. And it's
Yeah.
not the other person. I mean, the other person, it's not like you're against them. The idea is that you're using them as a marker. So whenever I first started back at jiu-jitsu, I had to do this to myself because coming from, like being okay, I was fairly decent back in the day, and 8 years old, coming back and just getting fucking strangled left, right, and center. Um, it's not even getting strangled. It's just like I wasn't used to getting beat. So in that environment, my memories of it was being one of the best in the gym and not getting beat often. Like very, very rarely would I get tapped even, and that was a problem. Actually, I had to go to a different gym because of it. But so I had to use this idea of long term ego. I've had to say, well, okay, I'm going to be shit today, and there's always like the bit of stick and bit of slagging that goes on, and like I have a terrible ego. Like I'll first admit it. So, but I figured you can use this to your advantage. So rather than me saying I'm going to be the best today, I'm going to be the best in fucking, I don't know, 3 years maybe. But you set yourself that target of using that as your marker rather than as something rather than using it like a stick to beat yourself with. You're using it as a stepping stone.
That's really interesting because like if you like say if you've got that 3 year goal, then if you have an off session, that's okay because there's 3 years to play with. But if your sole purpose was that session and it goes shit, then that could completely disrupt your reality.
Yeah, so it stops you focusing on what's important, which is learning.
Yeah.
It's not when you. Sorry, go ahead.
Go on, you're right.
No, I was just saying, like, whenever you're focused on that, as you say, that long-term ego and that long-term objective or whatever, it sets you up in a position where you're thinking, well, what's the best step to get there? Rather than, I need to do this right now, when maybe you're not prepared. It's like if I had rather than do that marathon that I mentioned earlier, if I had just says, right, I'm going to do a marathon fucking next week, then I would have had a really bad experience. Like, it's if you've never run before distance, like, I'd only run a 13 when I had done the actual marathon. I'd only ever run a 13 before that. So even when I did do it, around about 17 miles, I got a fucking kick in the ass. I hit the wall.
Yeah.
And it was a shock. It was a shock to the system. So, it was a push to get to 26 after that. But yeah, so it's using that idea of a long term ego.
It's being specific with it as well, isn't it? Like a lot of people, they're very vague with goals, and it's being very specific and critiquing actually what do you want to do and how do you want to get there and what's it going to take to get there and what do you need to do on that journey to get there. And it's taken out because with vague goals, then they don't have a time scale. They don't have. It's just it might happen, it might not. Whereas if you're specific, then you've given yourself there's that path along there, isn't there? There's a path. You're creating that path to there.
One of the good things about going back to that point of being in the fight rather than thinking about the win. So I've kind of come up. I don't know if I read it somewhere. I don't know. It's just popped in my head. I mean, when I was coaching back at Titan, and basically it's about rather than being outcome driven, because a lot of people are outcome driven. They want a certain goal or they want a certain thing, so I try to flip that on its head. So that's thinking about the win when you're in the fight. I focus on process. So what processes would I need? So you do have to do goal setting. So you do have to set out, right, this is my goal, right? Never think about that goal again. I want you to think about the process today. What's the process today? What's the process tomorrow? What's the process next week? What process are we going to keep completing? And then what you kind of find is even when you hit that goal, you look back and go, well, what would you change now? Like, I like the process.
That's amazing.
And that's what I've been trying to get into people now. It's not always a clean fit. Sometimes it takes a little bit.
So like, how would you? So say this person is dead set on the outcome of them wanting to win. How would you then change their mind and like, well, come on, like think of the process? Would that be a couple of weeks, or would it be? Well, obviously, it depends on the person. Like they obviously have the utmost confidence in you, and they fully go on what you say. But have you ever had times where it's like, no, I don't agree with that?
Oh yeah, I've had loads of people fight, like argue with me all the time. It's great in a lot of ways. When I'm coaching, I kind of prefer arguments. I like to have people contradict me. I don't like people just nod along.
Yeah,
Because you don't really know if they believe you, and if they're not questioning it, they're not really thinking about it. So when somebody questions me, I'm like, this
and I
person's
think
actually thought about this. I much
yeah, and
prefer that.
if they question you as well, it's because I think these days a lot of people they're too scared to not know like everything, and
Yeah, that's
at the
right.
end of the day, they come to you with a purpose. You're completely vulnerable in this aspect. You're not going to know everything. Like when you see it a lot when you're doing courses, don't you? Like people are too scared to put their hands up. Like
Yeah,
if I don't know something,
I
I
don't.
want to know, and I'm
Yeah,
going to ask a question. I don't care if that person thinks I'm dumb. If I want to know, then if if I then understand, then I know it for the rest of my life.
exactly. But
Sorry.
no, you're right. I'm studying at the minute actually something that's I've never done anything even close to really. Is I'm doing a motorbike mechanics course just so I can fix my own bikes and stuff.
That's
Plus,
amazing.
it's such fun as well. Like, it's actually really good learning
That
all
is
the
amazing.
connections and stuff. I actually had a lesson today at 10 till 12 this morning no, on Zoom. I used to travel to Mexico before lockdown. We do like
You
actual.
still live local to Preston. You still live local to Preston.
I never did. Well,
Did you?
I did early on, but I live in Ainsdale, so it's the other side of Southport. It's actually about,
Really? So near Liverpool?
yeah, it's closer to Liverpool. It's about 20 minutes away from
Oh,
Liverpool.
oh wow! I never knew that. For some reason I always thought you lived in the Preston area. I don't know why.
Life would be a bit easier, but there's we kind of have to. It's more to do with Ash's family. We kind of have to be near
Yeah,
hand.
yeah,
So it's just one of them sacrifices.
yeah.
But
It sounds like a nice place. Is it like a little
it
village?
is a nice place. There's no complaints really because we live beside the beach, beside the forest. There's no complaints really.
Oh, mate,
It's
lovely.
nice. And the views out our back's great. It's dark now, you can't see shit, but it's nice out our back.
You'll be going for a dip in the sea anyway. So you'll be going for a dip sea.
Well, I always have to check the tides actually because it's the tides, man. They're fucking so long. Like whenever the tide goes out, you're walking for like half an hour before you hit water. So you have to time your swims. You have to get basically it all revolves around when the tides come in. That's when you can swim.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we've talked for like 3 hours. That's I think this is maybe the
yeah, mate.
longest one yet.
That was
This is actually the longest one yet, I think. It's good.
well. Let's hope there was a little bit of substance to the subject.
Hope so, man. I think it was good now. I enjoyed it anyway. Hope the listeners
I
enjoyed
enjoyed it
it.
too. Man. I really enjoyed it.
Is
Yeah.
there anything else you want to add before we go, or
No, I don't think so.
I think we've done everything to death, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, man.